Okay, good.
Hey, good evening. Welcome to True Grit Crime. I'm your host, Mamaw Gritty, and tonight we are back with our fearless Christine, kicking it, chilling, just doing some chit
Sorry y'all
chat.
can't sorry y'all can't
Huh?
see me very well. I am migrained out, so I've got it dim in here, and I think all you can see is the glare from my glasses.
Yeah, that'll be all right. It will
Sorry.
be okay.
I don't
And
usually do that, but it's a special occasion.
right, and then I want to try to make it through the documents too. There are so many of them. I am laughing so hard, like coming from T and
Teresa.
Susie laughing about that the nipples and all of that stuff. Oh my gosh.
So
It's
hilarious.
crazy.
So
Hi,
funny.
my cat. Welcome in.
I'm glad I was able to kind of try to help them out a little bit.
Yeah,
I'm still limited in what I can say, but I could help them make some sense of some of the stuff that's been floating around Facebook today. I woke up to oh my god, so many messages this afternoon about asking me about I got sent photos and I was like, "Whoa, where'd those
what?
come from? Why do you have
Yeah.
those? Like, do we have a problem?" Well, then I realized once I thought about it, I was like, "Oh, this is Nick's evidence. This is his response." So then I went digging for it and I found it.
Yeah.
So I've got some explanations as to some of the stuff that was on those lists, which should help everybody to understand a little bit better. And then some stuff about those photos and trail cams and there's a whole bunch of stuff. So
Awesome sauce.
what I
I am so
figure is
glad
while
that
sorry.
no, you're good. I'm just I was about to say I'm glad that you're here so that like while we're going through it, um,
Mhm.
we can get a little bit more contextual explanation.
Well, because what
Um,
I figure I'll do is I'll let you read and then I'll interrupt you when I have something to add, some context that would help. That's kind of
gotcha.
how I plan to go at it. Does that sound all right to you?
It's fine with me.
Okay.
There's like a lot of documents I saw. Um,
There is. I think you'll be able to make it through them fairly easily, though.
no,
Once
of
you get
course. I don't
going
have any problems with documents. It's not a problem
yeah,
for me.
once you get
Uh,
going and see what all this stuff really is, it'll be easier. It'll make more sense, and I think we'll be able to get through it kind of easy because I'm familiar with all of it. I've seen all of it that is discussed, but you know me, there's some stuff I'm gonna have to just uh, let y'all speculate on. But
yes,
appeals are like that, right? We want to make sure that Rick is getting every legal opportunity that he has.
right?
So while I was in Criminalities Live, my stalker came to bother me. So there's this
Yes,
guy. I'm not going to say his name because I don't want to bring him, I don't want to bring him drama, but I don't mind people say it. Like, if people want to go around talking about I'm stupid or naive or, um, you know, drunk the tea or whatever, I am okay with all of that. Like, we're all adults here. This is YouTube. This is not Candyland, and we're not in the first grade. Like, people don't have to like people, and that's okay. So what happened is there's this guy that didn't get enough of my undivided attention prior to trial. So then after trial, when I started speaking up with you and with Rick Snay and with Prof, he decided to spin his own story in his brain, I think. I don't know what his motives are, so I'll just leave that be what it is. But so once he saw that I had a conversation with you and I had a
mhm,
conversation with Prof that I wasn't hiding, I had it in the chats, like everybody's been able to see me. I don't hide my hand, right?
right.
Well, somehow he twisted all of that and said, oh my God, she's been leaking information. She's leaking documents, she's leaking court documents, and said that I had been responsible for the leaks way back, the leaks in the way, way back, the crime scene photo leaks. All
Mhm.
because I had a conversation with somebody on YouTube that does YouTube. So I feel like maybe that shows that maybe the public doesn't understand what an investigator does, right?
Right.
Investigators, we investigate. So that means that I have to in consume all of the online, Facebook, and the documents, photos, videos, and all of the ick of the actual evidence.
Mhm.
And then I have to go looking for more. And the only way to do that is to talk to people, to interview people, to ask people for their sources and for their references. And I got really lucky and I had some people that were willing to help me out. But just because people were willing to help out the defense or help out me or help out the case by giving us documents doesn't mean that we gave them anything in return, right? That's where
That's correct.
the
Nobody gave anything to anyone. See, listen, the person that you are having problems with, like I have had issues with, um, and I have nothing against him at all.
me neither.
I don't understand why he is doing some of the things that he's choosing to do.
Well, he's
Um,
he's outright making up stuff at this point. Like he's saying that the families are coming after me, that the FBI is coming after me, that I'm gonna get arrested, and just all kinds of silly, like, we all know that's not true, right? Because this isn't my only case and this isn't my only job and this if the FBI want to talk to me, they know how.
yes,
So there's none of that going on. That's not grounded in truth. And it's really, really, really difficult when I'm trying to, first of all, make sure that Richard gets a fair appeals process. And I'm trying to make sure that the public gets what information we can give them to then have this person out in left field just trying to be a problem, just screaming about things that are really irrelevant. I guess tonight's complaint is that the dead person in our files, a photo that only I have seen, by the way, that only the defense team knows the photo that I'm talking about. So it's not like he would
mhm.
have ever even seen said photo.
No,
But
when I
anyway,
identified, let me be clear to you. When I helped to identify that individual, okay, it wasn't just me. Aaron helped me identify
exactly,
that individual. But
exactly.
we know that individual well enough that he had a particular handle name that
Style.
he would use.
Hmm.
And when you mentioned the handle name, it made me and Aaron both stop in our tracks and say, hold up, wait a minute. And you were like, huh? And we were like, yeah. And so we got you to look at the gentleman's photo
Photos.
of the person
Correct.
that we assumed that it was. You
Hmm.
looked, you were able to match, and you were able to confirm to us, yes, this is that individual. There
Correct.
was no, here, let me show a photo of this guy. Can you tell me what he looks like? Can you? No,
Right.
no, not at all. And to
And
be quite clear and honest, I think that that person would still be here had he not been messing around with this person and a
probably.
couple other people on YouTube, to be quite clear.
So to then assume that, like, so let's say even if I was wrong about the person who was in these photos, the
Hmm.
whole point was there was a random dead person in Rick's photos. Like,
Well, it's
It
not just a
it
random
really
dead
meant
person. I think that everybody needs to, like, take into account, number 1, this is not just a random dead person. First of
well,
all,
yeah,
this is
that's
a dead
true.
person who has gang-affiliated ties, drug connection
Correct.
ties. This is
Correct.
an individual whose uncle was arrested for another murder of another victim.
Correct.
Um,
But
it
even
just
if but even if I was wrong about who that photo was of,
mhm,
it is not worth screaming and yelling and threatening that the FBI is coming to my house and telling
right.
everybody that I'm some nut job and like none of that makes sense. Even if like he swears that I was wrong about the identification. And I suppose that could be. And if I am, then that doesn't really change anything. Like,
Right.
there's our files were still such a mess that we had photos and videos of deceased persons with no information behind them,
Yeah, and
not
that's
even so
persons
much as
with
a
an
name.
S. That's more than one person.
Exactly. But you understand what I mean. Like,
Correct. I understand what you mean.
it seems so petty to just get so stuck on that one thing. So, if you all come across this random person that is ranting about having me arrested, just let him rant. D- Just let him rant because that I've never given him an ounce of attention until today when I was finally like, you know what, man, you need to just take your medications and stop screaming because this isn't doing anybody any good. So, anyway, that's how that went. That was my earlier night, beginning of my night. Y'all got to understand, like I took down a live the other night and it was because I knew that the next day Reddit would just be nuts. So, I asked you to private a video because I probably said more than I should have. I speculated a little bit, and I don't want to ever accidentally harm someone that didn't do anything wrong.
Right.
So, those things are going to happen. I am human. I make mistakes. Um, I don't think I did in this case, but if I did, okay. But like, just just breathe. Like, take a minute and
Right.
think about how important is it really? Like, in the grand scheme of things, how important is it really? Not at all. Does it make a difference as to who killed the girls? Not at all. So, if you want to hear something I say and think it's wrong, you
Mhm.
are more than entitled to do so, but be respectful. That's all. Don't don't keep screaming in my face because you might not like the response, I suppose. And you've dealt with that too. We all have.
Yes.
But I'm tired of feeling like I can't defend myself when somebody wants to act an ass because that's coming to an end real, real quickly.
Yeah, there's no reason for it. Um,
No, it's stupid.
just we're all adults here. If you don't like somebody or you disagree with somebody, that's okay. But
Correct.
this going to seek this person out and follow them around to attack them, just
Right.
stop. Just
Yeah.
stop. Leave
Yeah.
it
It's
alone.
just,
It's harassment.
it is harassment
Okay.
and
If it
pointless.
continues to happen, there will be consequences for the harassment. They're
Correct.
asking you kindly to stop now, and
Correct.
that's it. Leave her alone. If you don't like her, don't talk to her
Yeah, that's right. Because it
because
wouldn't hurt
she
my
doesn't
feelings
want to
any.
be in your orifice or your space.
Correct.
Okay. There's a reason why people choose to go play where they choose to go play and where they choose to go.
Correct.
There's a reason people don't go other places. Not
Correct.
everybody is for everyone. Just leave her
Correct.
alone, dude.
Yeah.
Leave her alone.
So anyway, so we got some new photos and some new documents and some new evidence. Nick
Oh,
decided to
man.
gaslight us. I mean, to show us, to share with us. I mean, he's supposed to be sharing them with the court, but we all know that they were um, meant for the public. I think. I mean,
Mhm.
that's my assumption anyway.
Right?
That was probably unfair of me to say, but I already said it. It's too late. Can't take it back now. But
Mhm.
he shared some documents. So let's do this, man. I'm excited.
All right. So you're gonna have to give me a second because I am digging. So I saw some documents from yesterday. NBC or something was doing NBCU's put in a motion to intervene
They
to
did. They
compel
want the
access.
evidence. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
So
You know
I
what?
didn't.
It wasn't just NBC. It was NBC Dateline, and
Yes,
we
I
knew.
saw that. It says NBC Universal.
Yeah, I knew Dateline
Mhm.
was shopping this case.
Yep.
I'm not doing Dateline, so don't anybody look at me. They I no, just no. But I did know that Dateline had been, and they started right away. They started right away. So it sounds like maybe that project might go forward, which I would be excited about. Dateline does a really bang up job on trials.
Yeah. I knew that they were going to be there. Last year, they sent a representative out there to kind of um, come check out the hearings and stuff. And there was a lady who was asking me about like how the hearings had been going, how many I had been to. Um, and she was asking me about like how people are about approaching the family. And I was like, I don't approach the family because there's a
No.
gag order. And
Yeah.
she was like, but people still approach the family. And I was like, yeah, because they're dumb as shit. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, leave the family alone. There's a reason that there's a gag order. Just don't mess with them until it's all said and done. And let them, I mean, because it's already hard enough that they have to go to all of these different proceedings.
Absolutely.
And it's very overwhelming. I'm sure that everything being presented to them is overwhelming. The last thing that they really need is somebody in their face pushing and pressing them for whatever they can get out of them. So,
Absolutely. At one point in the trial, we were almost at the end of the trial, and Judge Gull, for whatever reason, had decided to start shrinking the amount of seats that the defense and the Allen family were given, right?
yeah.
So our seating got smaller and smaller and smaller until there wasn't enough. The day of closing arguments, I no, it was the day. It might have been a couple days before closing arguments. It was right towards the end of trial, and
Yeah, it was a couple of days before because, I sat downstairs and I waited, and you came down to come get me, but I was already
oh yeah, that's
irritated
right.
with, "Oh, boy," and got up and left out of the courthouse,
Oh,
and
the
then
terrorist on the sidewalk.
yes, and
Oh, can I
then,
say that word on
um,
YouTube? I probably shouldn't, huh? The T word on the sidewalk. We'll say that.
I really don't know, quite
I don't know
honestly.
either,
Um, I if it's a problem, they'll let me know, but
right?
I think we're
Sorry.
alright right now, but, um so yeah, because
So,
the seating had come down and we had talked about I was going there. I had
mhm,
gotten in line and all of that jazz, and
mhm.
you
I
had
came
sent
down to
me a
bring back,
text and you were like, "Where were you? I came down to come get you." And you weren't there, and I was like, "Oh,
right?
goodness." But I
Well,
did get in the next day.
so it would have been the day, probably the day before that or 2 days before that, that we ran out of seats. There just weren't enough, and,
Yeah.
God bless her. Becky Patty actually offered to let one of us use their seats.
Oh,
She actually offered to let me sit with them. And if I was a shitty
it's very
human, I'd have
kind of
been
her.
like, yeah, you know what I mean? But I
Yeah,
just, it was, I, to me, I felt like they deserved their space
yeah,
and they deserved to not have one of us in their space. So I asked one of the reporters, and one of the reporters went and sat with them and then gave me their seat. One of the
yeah.
local reporters refused. They were like, no, mm-mm.
What?
Right? And they were
Why
sitting
would
in
you
one of the
refuse? That doesn't make any kind of
and they
sense.
were sitting in one of the seats that should have been ours. But you know, sometimes sometimes the local print media, they're not always real open-minded.
Mhm.
So, it is what it is, I suppose. But I just thought that that was sweet of Becky that she was like, we have an extra seat if you want it. That was
Yeah,
nice. Yeah, I mean, I
that
turned it
was
down,
very
but
kind.
it was
That's a
just
lot.
because I didn't want to intrude, man. They're
Yeah.
they're
I
just
always felt so
suffering.
overwhelmed that I didn't want to approach them.
Yeah,
I
me
I
too.
like, I would see them, people would be talking to them. I never felt comfortable just walking up on them like that.
Hmm.
Um, but, there were a couple times that, you kinda people give each other glances and you just kind of nod your head at them and let them know, like,
Hmm.
I'm sorry for your loss and just keep it moving because I couldn't imagine, like, I wouldn't want somebody to be all up
Yeah.
in my space and my purview like that.
It's funny that the families all behaved really, really well. It was it
The
was the other.
families even brought snacks for people who were in the lines waiting. I
Mhm.
heard that they had brought
I did.
banana bread, I think is
Yeah, I didn't get
like
any
that.
of it, but I did hear about it. I think they brought it early in the morning one time before court.
Yeah, and they had thanked people for coming out and, showing their
Hmm.
support and listening. So
Yeah.
I thought that was really nice of them as well. I mean, they were under an intense amount of stress.
Oh, huge. I cannot imagine. Like nerves were already frazzled, even with us. Like
Right.
everything was already so there were so many emotions that that room almost felt toxic. Like you could feel the daggers back and forth, and then you had all of these officers, instead of like, they weren't on the sides of the courtroom, they were sitting in the back, so they were behind you. So you
Yeah.
couldn't, if anybody has any kind of anxiety to do with that, you've got this whole wall of meat back there, meat and armor.
Well, they were very like the officer. I remember when I got to go in for the day for the closing arguments. Um, and they were very firm on like no talking, no
Mhm.
whatever. He was
Oh, yeah.
like, if anybody gets caught talking, we'll tap you on the shoulder and you just have to get up and go.
Yeah. Us too, and, Erica and I were there for work, right? So we would write notes back and forth between the two of us
Yeah.
quietly on our notebook. Like I'd write a note and show it to her, and she'd write a note back and show it to me. And they, one of the officers, one of the, now Erica was a whole nother target though. But one of the officers pulled her aside and said, "If I catch you talking one more time, you're out of here." And Erica's like, "I haven't said a word." And he's like, "Prove it." So, there was that kind of stuff going on. But but overall, the officers that were working in the courthouse, like letting us in, letting us out, man, they were all so nice. Letting
Yeah.
us up the elevators and down. And, there were a couple that obviously felt some kind of way, but the others they were pretty nice. And then even when Gull had started giving our seats away, or they blamed her, I don't know if she's the one that was responsible for it. I went down
Yeah.
and I talked to Tobe Lesenby and I said, hey, the Allens are supposed to have 10 seats and the defense is supposed to have 10. I'm not
Okay.
asking for 20, but I am asking for 10. Can we fix the problem? And he's like, oh, God, yeah, what's happening up there? And I was like,
Yeah.
your officers have decided that we only get 8 seats total. And he's like, I will fix it. So he had me taken upstairs and had somebody removed out of the seat that I should have been in. Um, and I think that was the day that Becky offered her seat.
Yeah.
And then by that afternoon, they brought up ID badges for Kathy. They gave her 10 of them, so she had
Yeah.
to she or not had to, so that she could choose who she
Right.
wanted there. And so, it was usually her and Rick's mom and dad and Bob Mata
Yep.
got a family seat, and then there was me and Erica. Um, Leads with Love was there every day. Um, and then there were a couple others that would rotate in, rotate out. It just
Mhm.
kind of depended on how many
Mhm.
extras there were and how many we actually needed and whatnot. And then there were days when Erica and I couldn't go to court. So then they would just kind of grab people and say, hey, I see you're standing around outside on the sidewalk. You want to come in?
Mhm.
So there was a little bit of that happening, but for the most part, it was just people that Kathy had chosen, which
Yeah.
was nice. Anyway, I got sidetracked again. All right,
No,
so
you're
let's
good. You're
let's
good.
do the documents, yo.
Okay. Let me go over here and make sure that I have this. Okay. So I'm going to share the screen. So it's the states. Do it that way. Yep. Can you see that? Do I need to?
Mm, yeah, I can. I think. Yeah.
You guys good in the chat? Are you able to see that well, or do I need to go in a little bit more? It should be big enough. Okay. So this is the state of Indiana, uh, County of Carroll um, versus Richard Allen. State's response to motion to correct error. Oops, that is not what I meant to do. Okay. Now comes the state of Indiana by prosecuting attorney Nicholas C. McClelland and respectfully objects to the defense motion to correct error and would ask the court to deny the same without a hearing. The defendant's motion does not warrant a motion to correct error because a motion for safekeeping filed by the Carroll County Sheriff is not a critical stage of the proceedings, and the evidence concerning Brad Weber, Ron Logan, and Stacey Eldridge is not newly discovered evidence to warrant a new trial. The state would ask the court to consider the following: one, safekeeping order and Sixth and 14th Amendments. A, that the defendant claims that his Sixth and 14th Amendments were violated because he was deprived counsel at a safekeeping proceeding November 3rd, 2022. And that proceeding was a critical stage where he was entitled to an attorney.
Hmm.
The defendant further claims that since he did not have counsel at a hearing, the conviction should be overturned. B, that IC 353311-1 states that upon motion by the sheriff alleging that an inmate in a county jail awaiting trial is in danger of serious bodily injury or death or represents a substantial threat to the safety of others, the court shall determine whether the inmate is in imminent danger of serious bodily injury or death or represents a substantial threat to the safety of others. If the court finds that the inmate is in danger of serious bodily injury or death or represents a substantial threat to the safety of others, it shall order the sheriff to transfer the inmate to another county jail or a facility of the Department of Correction. C, that the statute does not require the court to have a hearing to make this determination. The court can make this determination based on the motion alone. D, that the defendant in this case was taken into custody on October 26, 2022 and housed at the Carroll County Jail. E, that the initial hearing was held on October 28, 2022, where the defendant entered a plea of not guilty. The court advised the defendant of his right to counsel, and the defendant notified the court that he would hire his own counsel. He at no time stated that he had counsel. The order herein attached as States Exhibit 1, that after the initial hearing, the defendant was moved to the White County Jail due to overcrowding of the Carroll County Jail. He was not moved to White County Jail due to any safekeeping order. G, that on November 2nd, 2022, the Carroll County Sheriff Tobe Lesenby filed a request by the Sheriff of Carroll County, Indiana, to transfer inmate from custody to the Sheriff of the Custody of Indiana Department of Corrections for safekeeping, commonly referred to as a motion for safekeeping. Herein attached as States Exhibit 2. H, that on November 3rd, 2022, the state received an email from attorney Brett Gibson stating that he would not be representing the defendant, herein attached as States Exhibit 3. I, that on November 3rd, 2022, the court granted the sheriff's motion without a hearing and determined that the defendant was in imminent danger of serious bodily injury or death or represents a substantial threat to the safety of others, not based on any acts or alleged acts by the defendant, but by the insistence on public information, noting that it is extremely dangerous and put all public servants in a dangerous situation. Order Aaron attached as States Exhibit 4. J, that in this order, the court further noted that the defendant intended on hiring private counsel, further supporting that no attorney had entered their appearance of counsel of the record for the defendants. K, that a motion for safekeeping is not considered a critical stage of the proceedings where the defendant is required to be present with counsel.
I mean, it kind of is if you're going to torture him to get an excuse out of him. I mean, allegedly.
Right. L,
Sorry.
that the sheriff, you're fine, that the sheriff had standing to file the motion for safekeeping because although the defendant was moved to the White County Jail, he was a Carroll County defendant. He was only moved to the White County Jail because the Carroll County Jail did not have sufficient room to house him in a cell by himself, as evidenced by the affidavit of Tobe Lesenby, herein attached as States Exhibit number 5. M, that Judge Jenner was the presiding judge over the case at the time and therefore had jurisdiction over the case and further was within that jurisdiction and within IC 353311-1 to make a ruling on the motion without a hearing. N, that as of this filing of the motion for safekeeping, the defendant did not have an attorney of record. O, that
I think we'll see dates. I think we'll be seeing some dates. What date was that hearing?
The 28th of October, and he was arrested on the 26th of October. So And that as of the filing, the motion for safekeeping, the defendant did not have an attorney of record. Oh, that IC 3533 11 2 does allow the defendant to request a post transfer hearing, which is what occurred in this case. The defendant is, oh, the defendant to request a post transfer hearing, which is what occurred in this case. The defendant requested a hearing on a safekeeping order, and one was held on June 15th, 2023. That at the June 15th, 2023 hearing, the court found that the defense's allegations were untruthful and not well founded and denied the motion to modify the safekeeping order.
I wonder which one of the defendant's claims was untruthful. The one that he was being inhumanely held in solitary confinement? Because we know that was true.
Right?
The one where he was being subjected to medications by injection without proper review by the prison board? Okay, we know that's true too. So I'm not sure which claims were false, but okay, we'll go. We'll let him keep going.
Yeah, I don't know. That at the June 15th, 2023 hearing, the court found that the defense's allegations were untruthful and not well founded and denied the motion to modify the safekeeping order. The court further found that the safekeeping order was reasonable and necessary to ensure the defendant's safety and to prevent serious bodily injury to himself, thereby affirming the court's order of November 3rd, 2022.
Okay, so hold on. I thought she said that she wasn't sure if it was legal for her to rescind that order.
Give me just a second to grab a sweater because I remember they talked about this.
But I'm not sure, like maybe that date, like maybe it might have been later that she said, well,
I
I'm
mean,
not sure I can legally modify the safekeeping order.
the very first time they addressed the safekeeping order, it wasn't like she was like, no, like upset. You know what I mean? Like
Mm-hmm.
they didn't really have like a large discussion about it. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? It was just kind of like the motion was denied and it just kind of moved forward. And then when we got to the hearings,
The
July, like the end of July, going into August,
the
um,
3-day hearings.
yes, that was when the safekeeping stuff was addressed again, I guess on the last day, like at the end of the day, Goal had made that decision because she specifically asked if there was uh like statute where you could where you could resend it, and
Mm-hmm.
go from an Indiana Department of Corrections facility to the county jail, right?
Right.
And
Yep.
so, Rosie had pointed out that yes, there was something that could support that decision had she, decided to make that decision.
Well,
Because they
if the
also
circuit court could put him in prison, then the circuit court should be able to get him out. Would you not think? I mean,
correct.
that would be
Yes,
reasonable in my untrained legal opinion. Here, remember, I'm not a lawyer. I don't work for lawyers. I'm not a part of the defense team anymore. I forgot my disclaimer at the beginning. Sorry.
you're good. No worries. But like I said, like the first time that they kind of like talked about this safekeeping order that he's talking about, like where he's like the allegations were untrue and like it wasn't really like there wasn't really no argument in saying that this isn't true or anything like that. It was just like, first of all, like when they had started addressing
Oh, is that his
where
weight
Mr.
loss? Is that when he lost all that crazy amount of weight?
He was tiny. Like, I saw
Yeah,
him
he was sickly looking.
the very
It looked
first time I
horrible.
saw him, Mr. Allen was so, like, tiny. Um,
Mhm.
and I saw him, he came into the courtroom. He was brought into the back of the courtroom, and, he I heard the chains before I heard him coming in, and
Mhm.
when he came in, he just looked very small and frail.
Yeah.
Um, he looked frightened,
Yeah.
and he did not look like at all like you see the photo of him sitting in the chair with the dog, you know what I mean? And he's
Mhm.
like, his normal weight and things like that. Like, he looked so different.
Yeah.
And I mean, in the first place, when they were talking about, like moving him to a county jail and all that stuff, like at first, when they asked Nick what he thought about it, Nick was just kind of like, like he didn't care one way or the other, but at that time, I can't remember who it was. Somebody didn't want him moved. Um, so then when we went back, it was weird because all of a sudden it wasn't the sheriff that wasn't willing, to have him moved or like deal with the move or whatever. Like, Nick was objecting to the move.
Mhm.
And Lesenby had gotten up on the stand in July and said that he would take, or is it not Lesenby? Yes. Liggett, my bad, Liggett. Liggett had gotten up on the stand and said that he would take responsibility for like the transporting, you know what I mean, of to and from, um,
Mhm.
for hearings and stuff like that. But before that, like, at one point they said that the county sheriff at the other county said that, they didn't want to take
But they
Rick.
would if they
They
needed
would.
to. Yeah.
Yeah, they would if they needed to, but they
Mhm.
didn't absolutely necessarily want to. And Nick was kind of like, it's whatever. And it kind of like at the end of the conversation, it wasn't really like, oh, you've been untruthful. It was more kind of like, well, he's just kind of good where he's at the moment, and I'll think about it type. You know what I mean? Like, I'll take it
I
under
do.
judiciary advisement,
Mhm.
and then the subject just kind of got set aside.
Yep.
So I don't know where he's coming from with all of this extra, but okay.
Right.
Um, so it says the court further found that the safekeeping order was reasonable and necessary to ensure the defendant's safety and to prevent serious bodily injury to himself, thereby affirming the court's order of November 3rd, 2022. See Order Herein attachment as States Exhibit 6. Q.
What's funny, oh, okay, never mind. We're gonna get to it.
Therefore, the defendant had a right to object and exercise that right, and his counsel failed to show the court that the safekeeping order was unnecessary. In fact, the court found that the defense not only did not meet their burden, but that the evidence presented at the hearing did not support the allegations advanced by defense counsel.
Okay, hold on.
No, what
Now, all
happened?
right, now we got a problem.
Yes.
So if the law, again, I'm not a lawyer, but the law that was explained in the motion to correct error was pretty clear as day and said that he had the right to refuse if the reason he was being kept in safekeeping was for his own safety.
Yes,
So then what
it
the fuck
did.
is Nick talking about now?
I don't know.
Uh, uh, What's for the lawyers to argue? Rick has the right to say, no.
Yeah, and had he had somebody there representing him or been there himself, he could have said no.
Yeah.
So, R, that the defense filed an additional verified motion for immediate transfer of custody on September 18th, 2023, which the court denied without a hearing. Yeah, because
Isn't
they
that
they
when
didn't
the
talk. It was just like they talked about it for a few minutes, and it was kind of like he's good where he's at. Nothing else was really said about it. And then at the end of the hearings, because I was actually shocked August 1st, because I didn't make it to that day, that third day of hearings, because of that damn nail in my tire. But uh I was shocked because they said at the end of the day, Judge Gold, approved for Rick to be moved over to that Cass County, you know?
so it sounds like Nikki is trying to say that the guards really weren't wearing odorless patches. Like, is
I
that
have
somehow
not
a lie?
gotten there. Like, what?
Because
Huh?
he forgot to mention that. Like when he's saying that, the defense's claims weren't truthful, there's photo evidence of that.
I
Just
mean,
saying.
there's
Just saying.
a
That was
lot
on
of,
video.
yeah. So, yeah, because I mean, nobody really, like, all of this stuff was talked about, and then it was just kind of like set aside. And really,
Hmm.
quite honestly, I was, like I said, I was shocked when it was ordered that Mr. Allen would be sent from the DOC facility to the county jail, and I was like, well, awesome. Like, that's a plus. You know what I mean? That's a step in the right direction, is what I felt like when it happened, you know?
So, so at New Year's, didn't Osbrook make some sort of a statement right around right around New Year's? I could have swore it was either New Year's Day or the day after, something about that initial hearing of Rick's.
Yeah.
Did he do that or am I misremembering?
No, I think he talked about it, yeah, around New Year's or whatever, and what should have happened. Yes,
That didn't happen?
that didn't happen. Yeah.
So that'd be a fun thing for people to go back and find. I wonder what show he was on. I bet he was on.
I want to say it was R&M.
Oh, okay, could be R&M.
He was talking to R&M.
Yeah, for context to this, y'all might want to go back and look for. There's your nugget that I can lead a horse to water, but I can't make you drink. Like I can't give it to you, but I can tell
Yeah,
you where
because
to
I
go look.
mean, like, he had representation. Okay, so Kathy went and got legal representation. This legal representation sent notice that he was representing Mr. Allen to the sheriff and to Mr. McLeland. Um, and Mr. Allen was booked into the facility under an alias, like,
Correct.
and really not even at
Oh,
the,
that part I can. This part I
like,
can talk about. Yeah, they booked him in under an alias, and they hid
mhm,
him. So
yes,
Kathy had been calling the jail to try and get a hold of Rick or to figure out where he was, and they kept telling her that he wasn't there.
yeah,
And she's like, "This is fucking weird."
mhm,
So she hired a lawyer for him. She paid this huge retainer, which
mhm,
to some folks is not huge. To me, it would have been financially devastating. She came up with 5 grand in cash, um,
mhm,
outright to pay this guy. So he sends letters to the jail and to Nick McClelland and says, "Yep, I'm Rick's lawyer. I want to see my client. Where is he?" So
mhm,
that's when the truth kind of comes out about, oh, well, he's here, but he's under another name. So I'll have to come down
Mhm.
to the jail and meet with you so that we can have him brought out to you for your discussion.
Mhm.
Because even the guards at the jail, they didn't know his real name. They didn't even know. Like they were completely unaware of who that was, the
Mhm.
real name of who that was. All they had was the alias. So
Yeah, because when it was caught in the first place, like, nobody like, everybody was just talking about that initial hearing on the 28th, but there was something in documents that I don't know, when you and I had had a conversation, the date on the document was the 26th, and
correct.
so that made you go back and look at that, and so then you guys were able to figure this out here. So,
We found this part out almost at the end of trial. So
yeah,
we were actually having a conversation with Kathy, and she
yeah,
mentioned, no, I take that back. It was not Kathy that mentioned it. It was somebody close to her that mentioned it to us and said, do you know she paid a lawyer $5,000 and he not only didn't represent Rick, but he didn't give her money back either.
yeah.
So, as it was told to us, it was more about this guy freaking scammed them. Well, at that
Mhm.
time, we didn't know about all of this other fake name, letters to Nick, none of that. We knew
Yep.
none of that yet. So the first like inkling that something was happening with this lawyer was almost at the end of trial. So we sent that up the chain of command to where it needed to go so that more conversations and research could be done about this lawyer. Well, Erica Erica kept working even after the sentencing. I did not. I stepped back right after um, it's probably a week after he was found guilty is when I finally decided that appeals work is just not my genre. Like it's just not work that I should be doing. My skills can be used elsewhere. But Erica continued on with them and she did all of that research, getting that lawyer's, getting in touch with him, getting his emails, like all of that. And I don't know who else did too. I'm sure that she probably wasn't the only one because I think that there are mentions of um, some of the other lawyers having contact. But like that
Yeah,
whole thing just, it came about after just a comment of, "Hey, did you know this?" Well, shit was so buried in our files, it was like confetti. There, and you couldn't find things like it's like the Turco letter, you couldn't find things unless you knew what you were looking for. Well,
yeah,
nobody knew to be looking for proof of a lawyer 2 days before the guy was even arrested and arraigned, or
right?
was he? So, like, there's a whole confusion there. So I knew at the when the 3-day hearings were going to happen, that at the third day of those hearings, and I didn't get this from Discovery, so don't get mad, but I knew at the third day that something wrong had happened. Something had gone very
Terribly
wrong
wrong.
on the
Yes.
third day. So
Yeah.
there was, I think it was miscommunicated by the time that it got to me, right? Because there's this game of like Chinese telephone that goes on, like the rumor mill. By the time something gets said, by the time it gets around to me, it's probably gone through three or four people, and sometimes even really good people who really know what they're doing, sometimes the context gets a little screwy. So when I had first heard of that third day, I was under the impression that Rick had not been arraigned properly at that first hearing,
Yeah.
and that on that third day is when it got called to attention and corrected. Whether it was corrected in a proper way or not, I have no idea. Because y'all, let me repeat myself, I am not a lawyer, but um, that is how I heard the story. So I don't even know how accurate it is now in hindsight.
Right.
But my understanding at the time is that that is what had happened at that third day hearing. That Kathy was so devastated because once that error was once this error was caught, we thought Rick would be coming home, and he didn't. And instead, she canceled things that day, and they had whatever back room meeting that they had. I have no idea what was said. I have no idea what was done back there. I don't know. All I know is that there was something weird about his very first appearance. Well,
Yes.
then towards the end, they had started asking for a transcript of that first appearance. So when I heard that, I was like, well, shit, I know what they're looking for now. Because I had already heard the rumor from the 3 day hearings, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's what I thought they were looking for. Well, then when they couldn't get it, or I don't remember, they might have asked for the audio first. I don't remember now whether they
Yeah.
which one they asked for first. But when they didn't get the first one, they asked for the second one because it's Indiana. All of those hearings are audio recorded. They're audio recorded and then turned into a transcript. So there's both. So I knew that they were looking at that first hearing, but I could I was done working the case before they got that. But that's why I dropped so many Easter eggs about y'all go back to that first hearing. Something's not right. Well, now we know it's because he had a whole freaking lawyer. He had a whole ass lawyer that they, first of all, see, with Rick being under an alias, Kathy couldn't get a hold of him. So Rick, when he went to court, McClelland is about to included in these documents is a letter dated the third from this lawyer saying, "Hey, I don't think, not I'm not gonna." He said, "I don't think I'm going to continue on as Rick's lawyer. I'd like to send him a letter to divorce myself from the case. Can you give me his location?"
Yeah.
Because Rick's lawyer didn't even know how to get a hold of his damn client because he was hidden from him. He was hidden from everybody.
Right.
So the date of that is the third. What else
Yes.
happened on the third? This hearing. Now, Nick is trying to say that he didn't have a lawyer on the third for this hearing. Well, Rick hadn't even been notified that he had a lawyer, first of all, because Kathy couldn't tell him because they wouldn't let Rick use the phones like a normal inmate. So
Right.
nobody could get a hold of Rick. So Rick didn't know he had a lawyer. Then Rick's lawyer, who was apparently going to drop him as a client, he hadn't contacted, he hadn't had time to contact Rick either to fire him. So I don't know what the technicalities are there though, but it's all funny that that's all getting cleaned up all on the same day. And then they have this hearing. also on the same day.
right?
Hmm. Hmm.
It's
It's
all a
all
hot
sus.
mess.
It is all sus. You can't tell me it wasn't that it was all an accident. Okay, sorry. That was me hijacking to fill in the backstory a little bit.
No, you're good.
Of all the lives that are going to get me in trouble, it's this one.
It won't. I
I hope
promise.
not. I hope not. Let's keep going though.
Okay. So, S, that the defendant's due process rights and constitutional rights were protected throughout the course of the case. T,
I'm sorry, I had to laugh. I'm going to let you keep reading. I'm sorry.
you're fine. That under both the Sixth Amendment of the United States Constitution and Article 1, Section 13 of the Indiana Constitution, the right to counsel only applies to critical stages of the prosecution where the absence of counsel might derogate from the accused rights to a fair trial. State versus Taylor, 49 NE 3D 1019, Indiana 216 or 2016. Further, a stage of the proceedings is only critical if it is one where incrimination may occur or where the opportunity for effective defense must be seized or foregone.
Oh, gee, the effective defense, huh? You mean so putting him in solitary confinement and torturing him is somehow not a critical stage? Putting him where his lawyers could only see him while being videotaped, so he couldn't work with his legal team in private. I mean, I'm just going out on a limb here. I'm sorry.
Hmm.
I'll stop. Carry on.
You're good. Hernandez versus State 761 NE 2D 845, Indiana 2002. The right to counsel is not a generalized protection for all purposes. It is not a right that is implicated just because questions of law may arise. What? Oh, that must be okay. So Osbrook talked about that too.
What was it?
Like,
I
so it's the right to counsel is not a generalized protection for all purposes. It is not a right that is implicated just because questions of law may arise. Staley versus State 633 NE 2D 314, Indiana Court of Appeals, 1994. So Osbrook was talking about, he said that like it's like when somebody gets arrested, like their initial arrest, right? When you go to your initial hearing, like when you get arrested and you're in the back of the police car, you, it's
right,
not like you can tell the cop, hey bro, can you stop up the street and pick up my lawyer? You
right.
know what I mean? Like, so you're not expected to have legal representation when you appear before um that judge, you know what I mean, for that
Yeah, for your
particular charge.
arraignment.
So
Hmm.
yeah, that's pretty much what that is. Um the motion for safekeeping does not touch on matters of guilt or impact the ability to have a fair trial. It is a
Wait.
mechanism for housing the defendant in a penal facility pending trial that will keep him and others safe. The defendant is not facing the advocacy of the prosecutor with respect to his guilt or innocence of the criminal charges. It further is not a stage where incrimination may occur or where the opportunity to present a defense to the charge must be seized or forever be lost or impaired.
Okay, hold on. Repeat that last sentence again.
It has been found that the filing of information is not a critical stage, the probable cause hearing, or no, wait a minute, my bad. It further is not a stage where incrimination may
There
occur.
you go. There you go. Because plenty of incrimination occurred under the torture of Westville. Okay, now we can keep going. I'm just
or
saying.
where the opportunity to present a defense to the charge must be seized or forever be lost or impaired. It has been found that the filing of information is not a critical stage. The probable cause hearing or initial hearing are not critical stages, nor is the procedure to select a special judge. Doolin versus State 721 NE 2D 241 Indiana Court or Indiana 1999. Gerstein versus Pug 420 US 103 1975. Hopper versus State 957 NE 2D 613 Indiana 2011. Staley versus State 622 NE 2D 314 Indiana Court of Appeals 1994. It is safe to surmise that given those rulings, a motion that does not even require a hearing would not be a critical stage in the proceedings, which in turn would not entitle the defendant to a new trial. V.
But the safekeeping order should have had a hearing. Nick, come on now. It took him 11 days to come up with this shit.
12. 12, 11, doesn't matter. He had 30 days to respond in full. He
Right.
could have taken that whole 30 days and trumped up whatever he wanted to.
Right.
As long as he, gave a response. V. That since this was not a critical stage of the proceedings, the defendant did not have a Sixth Amendment right to counsel. So he was not denied the Sixth Amendment right to counsel. Lafler versus Cooper, 566 U.S. 156, 2012. W. That even if this was determined to be a critical stage in the proceedings, any Sixth Amendment right to counsel would be reviewable under the harmless error analysis. Satterwhite versus Texas, 486 U.S. 249, 1988. X. But the defense cite United States versus Chronic 466 U.S. 648, 1984 as precedent to overturn the conviction, but they do so because they misunderstand the case. The defense believes that the case says that a harmless error analysis is precluded because the defendant was denied counsel at a critical stage. However, the case states that Sixth Amendment violations raise two questions: whether a Sixth Amendment violation has occurred and whether the constitutional violation was harmless. Prejudice must be an element of the constitutional violation to warrant reversal. In Chronic, the issue was ineffective assistance of counsel, not lack of representation at a critical stage. In determining if not having an attorney at a critical stage reaches the level of a violation, the harmless error analysis is used. Why? That the lack of a hearing for safekeeping motion on November 3rd, 2022, and the lack of counsel before the decision was made by the court had no effect on the jury's verdict and therefore is harmless. The jury did not find the defendant guilty because the determination of his safekeeping was made without a hearing on November 3rd, 2022, and no attorney appeared. Nor did not having an attorney or a hearing at the stage permanently deprive the defendant of the opportunity to raise any claims or assert any defense. Clearly, the defense did that after the order was entered. The lack of counsel must be complete to apply the presumption of prejudice. Wright versus Van Patten, my bad, 552 U.S. 120, 2008. The presumption of prejudice only applies when the error infects the entire trial process and necessarily renders it fundamentally unfair. Glebe versus Frost.
Like torture. Sorry, keep going.
Gleb versus Frost, 574 U.S. 21, 2014. The chronic exception is exceedingly narrow and is only applied in cases of non representation through the entire case. Smith versus Brown, 764 F3D 797th Circuit, 2014. Two, due process under 14th Amendment as it pertains to the Brad Weber testimony. A, that the defense argues that the defendant's due process right under the 14th Amendment of the United States Constitution were violated because the state presented testimony that Brad Weber arrived home in a white van around 2:30 p.m., knowing that the testimony was false before it was elected or failing to correct it once it had been elected. The defense cites a video located in discovery from the residence near the Monon High Bridge, a video that was included in the discovery turned over to the defense and that the defense had the entire time of trial. B.
So I mean, they also had the Turco report. Nick McClellan had the Turco report all while they were claiming they didn't know who Turco was. So, that
Right?
discovery file obviously was not searchable. Just saying. So, when you hand it to us and it looks like confetti, which the attorneys did a really good job of documenting every step of the way. They complained repeatedly about the things they couldn't find, the things they didn't have, the disorganization being intentional, the overwhelming of information. Like they threw us stuff that didn't even apply, like said photo.
Right. Or like
So
the time that the defense had pointed out, specifically Miss OJ had said that she was looking for something specific, and Nick suggested that the defense rehand them over all of their items of discovery for
mhm,
him to go through to locate the item to show
mhm.
them where it was at
Instead of just, I don't know,
instead of
send her
just
what she fucking asked for.
right. He was like, "Well, you should just give it all back to me, and then I can show you where it's at. Why?
We
Why
tried
not
that
just make
once
sure
when
that she
Libretto
has
and
it?"
Scremin took over. We did that
Mhm,
once, and they returned it to us, and some of it was missing, and then it was
mhm,
all misfiled again. I mean, accidentally on purpose.
mhm. And
So
I couldn't imagine why Libretto and Scremin would want to take that and mess it all around if they were taking it over.
exactly, exactly, because they're both nice guys. I met the Libretto at the 3-day hearings. He's
Mhm,
polite, nice guy.
hmm.
Anyway, yeah. I have that he may say we had it, but we also didn't know that Brad Weber was going to lie and say that he got home at 2:30. That's where that's the shit you can't pull in court.
But he knew it was untrue
Exactly.
because he knew that video was there. He knew it
Correct.
existed. It just
I
happened
would
you
assume
guys
so.
just happened to find it, like, right at the close of trial, literally.
So, but it would have never been needed had Brad said
Right.
the same thing in his testimony that he said in his depositions.
Mhm.
And so, and that was in the first motion to correct error, right? So I'm not telling
Mhm.
secrets here.
Right.
Like, had he said what he had been saying prior to that and what there is proof of, that none of this would have happened. But
Right.
this is what happens when a witness sandbags you on a stand. But it happens to both sides. Like, we watch trials all the time. The YSL trial was full of witnesses that wouldn't cooperate. When that happens, as an attorney, you're supposed to go back and correct it, and you're supposed to nail them down. And from my understanding, after reading the first motion of correct error, is that it's kind of illegal not to. You're not allowed to put somebody on the stand if you know they're going to lie.
Right. And that kind of like speaks to Nick's character too, because
It does.
let's not forget that this is not just the only individual he allowed knowingly was getting on the stand who told mistruths. But like, look at the other case where you have the former Delphi police officer who I'm thinking that, in my personal opinion, Nick knew that guy was going to get on the stand and lie. The judge caught it. You know, this doesn't look
Mhm.
good,
It
in my
doesn't.
opinion. It doesn't look good. Um, but hey, it's not my problem. It's his.
Correct.
Um, okay. So, um, B, that the exhibit presented by the defense is in the form of a YouTube link that is not identified as the item of evidence by the Indiana State Police number, and therefore is an improper submission for consideration by the court. It is unverified by legitimate means as to the date and time. There's a timestamp literally on the
Correct.
video.
Correct.
Defense allege that the time in the video is off by 12 hours without any proof of said allegation except their apparent ability to tell the time by simply looking at the daylight and moonlight in the video. Wasn't the owner of the video the one that advised you guys of the time difference?
I don't remember exactly, but I think I know that you and I were no, Prof and I were on live, and Osbrook was one of the first people that jumped in the on the StreamYard to join us and ask questions, and he made a comment that there were other anchors besides just daylight and moonlight. So there is something in that video that they have been able to tie to, you can use a video, you can timestamp a video in lots of different ways. Like if Weber said what time he went to work, you can find his car leaving to go to work, and then that will give you the time, you know what I mean? That'll give you
Yes.
the time that he left, which will then anchor the time on the video. So then you can continue the rest of the video knowing that it's off by 12 hours and however many minutes and whatever. You
Mhm.
can do the same thing using neighbor vehicles. You can use a bus. A school bus is a great one. You can use
Right.
digital evidence because I'm going to assume that there's probably some digital evidence like, geofencing and tower dumps and those kind of things.
Right.
They probably have GPS of his phone. So even if you don't have the moment that he drove home, because it's not like you
Mhm.
you give a minute by minute, um, it will clock him like his digitals would be able to say what time he passed whatever tower. So you
Right.
can use that to anchor the time of the video. Like there's a lot of ways to go about that.
Mhm.
So I'm gonna say that that argument's probably gonna be pretty easy to you know refute.
Yeah. Okay. So they further make assumptions about the content of the video. They present zero evidence to support said allegations.
Sure.
C. That the simple answer is that the motion to correct error only applies to newly discovered evidence. From the defense's own admission, this is not newly discovered evidence, but rather evidence that they had been provided long before trial. The defense chose not to present it at trial as part of their trial strategy, but they did try to impeach Brad Weber on the stand and was unsuccessful, was it not?
I don't remember if that was one of them. Gull had a way of saying,
Like you can't,
there's a
yeah,
proper
she had a
way
way
to
of stopping
impeach
them from
someone.
doing that.
Yeah, she would say there's a proper way to impeach someone, and this isn't it.
And
And
wasn't
I
Weber the
remember,
guy, one of those people?
could have been. It could have been. I don't remember specifically, but I remember Brad Rosie asking her like, "But this is the proper way. Like, what do you want?" Like,
Yeah.
so I don't know if they were having a disagreement about the law, or um there was I don't understand it because I'm not a lawyer, but I do know that she gave them a hard time every time they tried to impeach anybody.
Uh, Okay, so it was the trial strategy by experienced defense trial attorneys. Therefore, it is a moot issue because it is not newly discovered evidence. Helton versus State 402 NE 2D 1263, Indiana
him,
1980.
him lying on the stand was newly discovered. Like, that's the thing that is what I find so interesting about the law, is this is all about context, because the things that he's saying aren't newly discovered. They came up in the middle of trial on the stand. Like, they didn't know he was going to go up there and just say whatever came to mind. Like, how are they supposed to know that? This is a deposition state. Not all states have depositions, but this is a place where you are under oath and promised to tell the truth and during your deposition. And when the testimony doesn't match the deposition, um, that means there was perjury somewhere. I would assume that they would call that perjury. I don't know. A lie is another way to put it.
Yeah.
How were they supposed to know that he was going to get up there and lie?
Hmm. They didn't. I mean,
Right.
he wasn't supposed to get up there and lie. That's the whole point.
Exactly. That's the whole purpose of a deposition, is so that you're not sandbagged by a witness on the stand.
Right.
Nick McClellan likes to charge people for perjury, though.
Mm-hmm. Interesting.
Hmm.
Okay.
Just a thought.
Right. Helton versus State 402 NE2D 1263, Indiana 1980 D. That is, at best, this is impeachable evidence that the defense could have used when Brad Weber was on the stand testifying. Evidence which is merely impeaching is not available as grounds for a new trial under the rules concerning newly discovered evidence. Bell versus State 626 NE 2D 570, Indiana Court of Appeals 1993. Further evidence must be more impeachable or cumulative, must not be reasonable discoverable before trial, and also evidence that would probably result in a different verdict. Kelly versus Bunch, 287 NE 2D 586, Indiana Court of Appeals, 1972. Bub versus State and 434 NE 2D 120, Indiana Court of Appeals, 1982. It must be more than contradictory. Reed versus States 479 NE 2D 1258, Indiana, 1985. E. Finally, the testimony by Brad Weber was not the exclusive evidence the state used to convict Richard Allen. Brad Weber was put on the stand multiple times, and the defense had every opportunity to cross examine him. If anything, this evidence is no more than impeachment evidence that the defense chose not to use. The defense is not permitted to request a new trial to change strategy when their chosen path fails. Okay. F. This also applies to any phone peaks that were in discovery for Brad Weber.
Oh, interesting that he threw that on in there.
Uh-huh.
Hmm. That wasn't mentioned. Like our or Jen's motion to correct error didn't mention Brad's phone pings, did it?
I don't believe it did.
It's funny that Nick throws it in there, like, oh, by the way, you can't do that either because he knows that his phone pings put him there later than he said he got home. The phone pings matched the video, I do believe.
Mm. This is
That's
not
what.
newly discovered evidence by the defense's own admission. Further, at best, it is impeachable evidence that the defense chose not to use at trial. Number 3, Reese Davis' claim of confession by Ron Logan. A.
Here's
At the,
where here. All right, I got to give a preface before we get into this. Now,
okay,
let's not forget, like we're all wound up about Ron Logan. Ooh, I dropped you off. Sorry, sorry.
you're good, no worries.
You landed in my face and then my armpit. And sorry. Um,
Uh-oh.
I know. Did y'all get a good view? I think it was probably just dark though.
Good,
Um,
good.
so we're all revisiting the Ron Logan thing, and my personal opinion has been for the last couple of years that I, or the last year and a half, that I don't, I haven't really thought that Logan was in the middle of like the homicide itself. In the periphery maybe. However, I am an open minded person, so I am taking a second look along with everybody else. While everybody else is taking a second look, so am I, because I'm only human and I'm allowed to change my mind and I don't work for anybody anymore. And so I can
By
do
the
what I want.
way, Sleuthy said it does mention the phone at 2:50 p.m. from the FBI.
Oh, okay, good.
Okay.
Good.
Okay, go
So,
ahead.
yeah, good. So I won't get in trouble for saying that one out loud.
Okay.
So, that being said, looking at the Ron Logan stuff is something we're just all going to do. But the only reason, really, that the Ron Logan confession, alleged confession, came back up is because the pathologist changed his testimony, his, her, whoever, because we know I get beaten up over that. They changed their testimony on the stand. And all of a sudden, it went from, well, I mean, it one was a straight blade and the other one was a serrated blade. That's what it had been all along. To all of a sudden, it was, oh, well, I think it could have been a box cutter. Much like Brad Weber in this, what time he got home. When you get on a stand and you change your mind all of a sudden, it doesn't give you time. It These trials are like choreographed. They're like a ballet. Like You know what questions you're going to ask and in what order, and you know where you're going to stand and how you're going to move around. You know what order you're going to call witnesses. And so when you have somebody that gets on the stand and all of a sudden takes a 180 from their prior um, depositions or statements or reports or whatever, it gives them an unfair advantage. And that's why you're not allowed to do that under my understanding. So it's interesting that Rick is now saying that that's perfectly fine. That whole story change was totally fine, but let's talk about Ron Logan and how Ron Logan couldn't have done it. Well, in the first motion of correct error, they weren't arguing whether Ron Logan could have done it. What they were saying is now this confession is exculpatory because the ME changed his story. So, anyway, now we can get into this. But just keep in mind that this is supposed to be an answer to the defense's motion to correct error. And they explained why this Logan confession through Reese is now. They explained that it was because of the pathologist changing their opinion of what happened. So anyway, now we can get into this.
Okay. Number three, Reese Davis claims of confession by Ron Logan. A. That the defense next argued that Reese Davis claims that Ron Logan made a confession to him, said claim being newly discovered evidence entitling the defendant to a new trial. B. That any information pertaining to Ron Logan falls under the state's motion in limine concerning third party motive. The defense had 3 days to present evidence to meet their burden for third party motive. They mentioned Ron Logan but failed to meet their burden with the court. They chose not to present this evidence in that hearing. They also did not present this evidence when they renewed their motion during the trial. This now seems to be an effort by the defense to use a motion to correct error in an effort to circumvent their burden concerning third party motive. C. That this evidence, along with the video surveillance evidence from the residence, was received by the defense on January 30th, 2024, as evidenced by the discovery release. Herein attached States Exhibit number 7. D. That the defense team consisting of 3 experienced defense trial attorneys made a choice not to fully explore or present that Reese Davis claim, which the defense admits was contained in discovery. E. That the alleged confession was made to an inmate at the Department of Corrections named Reese Davis, who was serving 50 years for dealing in methamphetamine. That law enforcement interviewed Reese Davis and submitted him to a polygraph at his request. That Mr. Davis failed the polygraph miserably. That Mr. Davis gave a statement that alleged Ron Logan confessed to him that he killed the older girl first, then took the younger one away from the scene, and he killed the second victim later and then brought her back to the scene. Then he went back to the scene after search party, searched his property, and moved the girls to another location. That he removed the cell phone battery from the girl's phone and left the phone behind, and that he took the girl's clothing from the scene and burned. Many of these details are directly contradicted by the evidence. The others have no evidentiary support. F. That
I
even with
think it's
the
funny right here, like in that paragraph, he just kind of glosses over and says some of these things are contradicted by the other by the evidence, and then some of them have no evidentiary support. I think he was intentionally vague there because some of those things do have evidentiary support and he knows it. And so he's never going to admit to the public which ones which ones are valid and which ones aren't. So he'll just gloss on over them.
why is he talking about removing the battery from the phone?
So I don't know. I'm gonna assume that Reese probably that was part of the confession that Ron Logan told Reese. Um, you know, I've read through that several times now. Some of it's, you know, it's like how they said that Rick confessed 60 times and he knew things only the killer would know. Well,
Mhm.
when you read things with a confirmation bias, like if you know what happened and you read things like Reese's statement, if you're trying to find proof that Ron Logan did it, you'll find that in his statement, in Reese's statement. If you're reading his statement trying to prove that Ron Logan didn't do it, you'll also find that in Reese's statement. You know what I mean? Like there was enough there that was accurate to make people that want to believe it say that, yeah, that happened. But there's also enough that was wrong in there to make people go, oh yeah, that was not good. So I'm kind of neutral on that one because some of the stuff he said could be, some of it he said ain't quite right. But again, Nick is now trying to talk about how Ron couldn't have done it when that was never the argument to begin with.
Okay. All right. So F, that even with the alleged information from Ron Logan about the box cutter, there would have not been enough to establish probable cause to arrest Ron Logan. No evidence places him at the scene of the murders. Unlike the defendant, who left an unspent round at the scene that was subsequently matched to a gun that he owned and he himself asserted there was never in anyone else's possession, who put himself on the bridge at the time of the abduction and wore the same clothing as Bridge Guy.
So he didn't put himself at the bridge at this time of the abduction, and he didn't say that he was wearing the same clothes as Bridge Guy either. Those are both patently false. So the true statements were said, they were repeated in court. Um, you know, during Rick's, I think it was his first interrogation. He's like, yeah, I was there between like 1:30 and 3. That doesn't mean that he was there from 1:30 till 3. You know what I mean? Like he was giving a very broad range of time, like I was there somewhere between here and here.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean that he was saying he was still there at 3. Like, and he was not being questioned as a suspect when he made that first statement. That's the one he gave to Doolin. It
Mhm.
he there's no recording, there's no video. Like he was given a broad time range of when he could have been there. So that got misconstrued. He also said that he said, I was probably wearing jeans. They were trying to pin him down as to what he was wearing
Mhm.
for just this reason, right? So that they could use it later, because that's what you do when you question people. Um, so he said that he was wearing jeans most likely, and that he was probably wearing a black or a blue jacket, maybe. You will hear more about Rick's jacket during the appeals process. You'll hear about that in the next trial. Um, because there's more information about that now that I know. So I can't spill that, but him saying that he was wearing those clothes, yeah, no, that's not that's not exactly what he said. You know what I mean? Like it's kinda, but what guy in Indiana doesn't wear blue jeans and a black or blue or khaki jacket? You know what I mean? Like
Yeah,
dress like every other dude in Indiana.
I hear you.
So then 4, Stacey Eldridge's expert opinion. A, that the defense finally alleges that an affidavit by Stacey Eldridge supports that dirt or water did not cause damage in the auxiliary jack in order to log wired headphones were plugged in and unplugged. They allege that this is newly discovered evidence that would probably produce a different result at a new trial. B, that Stacey Eldridge testified. She's controlling the screen and I'm reading it.
Sorry.
No, 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 you're good. You go right ahead. You were gone, so I just figured I'd start reading without you.
Yeah, I'm just grabbing some ice cream. Sorry.
Ice cream sounds heavenly. That
Yes.
Stacey Eldridge testified at trial for the defense. C, that she did not submit any report, log, or any other information that supported her position that the log accurately supports
That's
that
enough.
headphone
Please stop.
jacks were plugged into and later unplugged from the auxiliary jack. Okay, so we're going to pause right there. They're saying that she did not submit any report, log, or other information. No, but they asked the state cell phone guy if that auxiliary jack being plugged in and unplugged was on his report, and he said, "Well, yeah." She's like, "Did you just?" When they asked him further questions about it, it was along the lines of, "Did you just not know what it meant? Did you just not scroll over that far?" Because she used his reports. So Stacey Eldridge used reports that came from law enforcement. So what the hell do they expect her to turn in reports to them from when the reports came from them in the first place? Makes no sense. D, that this opinion was only supported by her testimony at trial. She's an expert witness. That's what they do. E, that prior to her testimony, Stacey Eldred had only done one other forensic phone analysis and had only testified one time prior about a forensics phone analysis. I don't remember that. I don't remember if she discussed how much testifying she had done, but Stacey Eldridge teaches for the FBI. Come on now. God bless Cecil, but he's no Stacey Eldridge. F, that Stacey Eldridge only gained the education to be able to testify to forensic phone analysis as recently as 2023, that the bulk of her expertise is in computer or network forensics, not cell phone forensics. See her CV attached herein as States Exhibit 8. All right, I'm going to let you read, Gritty. Can you? Are you ready yet?
Yep. Okay, where am I at?
G.
F. G. Okay. That the state called Sergeant Christopher Cecil on rebuttal to testify about the headphones in the auxiliary jack of the phone. H. That Sergeant Cecil was able to observe photos of the phone when it was found, herein attached as States Exhibit 9, 10, and 11, that Sergeant Christopher Cecil did testify that one plausible explanation for the log entry is that there was dirt or water in the jack that caused a malfunction. This is in part based on the condition that the phone was found in, how long it was outside before it was found, and his knowledge and experience as a forensic phone examiner. J, that this is also based on the facts found through the investigation, including that the phone did not move after 2:32 p.m. on February 13, 2017, and that there were no headphones found with the bodies. That is unlikely that someone returned to the crime scene after 2:32 p.m., removed the phone from underneath the body of Abby, plugged headphones into the phone, and then kept those headphones in for 5 hours, unplugged them, and then they put the phone back underneath the body, all while not moving the phone. K, that the defense's expert, Stacey Eldridge, sat in the courtroom during Sergeant Cecil's testimony, and the defense had an opportunity to recall her as a witness to rebut Sergeant Cecil's testimony, but chose not to. L, that there is nothing in the logs, reports, or extractions that would indicate whether or not the phone had some kind of water damage, because the kind of damage is not registered in the logs, reports, or extractions of the phone. Whether or not there was water damage can only be determined by physically examining the phone, which Stacey Eldridge did not do.
Neither did the state. Hello.
Right? That again, at best, this is impeachment evidence that could have been brought out in testimony during trial in an effort to impeach Sergeant Cecil's testimony. This is not newly discovered evidence to warrant overturning the conviction. And the same analysis that was used in the above evidence concerning Brad Weber and Ron Logan would apply to this evidence as well. It is not newly discovered evidence, but is impeachment evidence, and therefore cannot be basis for a motion to correct error. Wherefore, the state of Indiana, by prosecuting attorney Nicholas McLean, respectfully requests the court deny the motion to correct error without hearing, and for all other just and proper relief in this premises. So, Mr. McTurdlin, stop the camera on that. So, what do you think so far?
I mean, it's not surprising. I call it gaslight, but I mean, they might be legitimate legal. They might be legitimate legal arguments. So, you know me, I, I'm not a lawyer. I guess we'll find out as things go along. But I cannot see how hiding a man from his lawyer is anything but a violation of his Miranda rights. Like, I just can't.
Right.
I just can't, you know. And it wasn't Brad or Andy's fault. That was some other guy's fault. So I guess they have a new scapegoat. But it is what it is. It's going to be what it's going to be. But I find it, I find it fascinating what people leave out when responding during an argument. I mean, I do it. I'm hella biased towards the defense side, but I'm not a lawyer. I'm not supposed to be unbiased. Not
Right.
anymore.
Hmm.
Oh, look at
Well,
Spectrum in the chat's doing you a solid. Let's uplift and help True Grit grow. What a
oh,
sweetheart,
thank you.
right?
Thank you.
I
Thank
haven't been
you.
looking at comments, but I did for just a minute, and that was the first one I saw.
Aw,
That was sweet.
yes. Thank you. Um, so
Ooh, there's questions about the phone, about Libby's phone.
do you
They're
want to take
asking already.
them?
They're asking already. Should I go? Should I deal with that? I
Go
think I
for
will.
it.
So, okay, I sent you photos, right? That you were gonna that I told you to hang on to because I'd need them on the screen. We'll talk about the phone first. So I don't know when the story changed from the phone being under the bodies to the phone went was inside of the shoe. I am not I am not aware of how that morph in the story happened. I'm not it it was probably an innocent uh explanation, I'm sure, because it's really not that big a deal. But so the phone was under her shoe, not inside of it. So the photos that you're seeing have the shoe removed and it shows the phone. So photos are taken in layers at crime scenes, right? So anyway, without being graphic, you could take a look around those photos, but the phone was under her shoe. It wasn't inside of her shoe, and I'm not sure how that story ever got started. So um I couldn't really clean it up. Dino, disclaimer, everything I say may or may not be true. That's funny. So that's the deal, is that it was under her shoe, it wasn't inside of her shoe. So when you look at the photo of the phone, can you put that up there, Gritty?
I don't have the photo of the phone. You did not
Uh,
send it to me.
it's that exhibit number 10.
The one that I saw that was posted earlier today that we
Yeah,
talked about. Yeah, let me go find it real
yeah,
quick.
that one.
Sorry.
That's okay, sorry. Okay, so if you look at the screen on the phone, on the pink phone, pink, purple, whatever color you want to call it, there's water, like it looks like water speckles or ice on the screen. So if you have warm ground or cold ground, right? This was in February. They had had a couple of warm days, so the very top layer of the ground gets a little squishy. But underneath that, that ground is frozen. It's cold. This is Indiana now. Then you have a phone, and then you have a shoe, and then you put a warm body on top of that. It's going to create condensation. So then when you remove the human from the top of it and you remove the shoe from the top of it, then not only would it have collected condensation from the first scenario, but then it's going to collect condensation again because it's going to be warmer than the air. So that's why it looks a little wet. Then the fuckery of the Delphi photo nightmare decided to rear its ugly head today. I don't know how many of you have seen the doctored photos compared to the real photos. So if you look, can you scroll down so we can see the bottom of this photo? Okay, right there. So I have been sent, is this the one? I have been sent these photos repeatedly. And folks are trying to tell me that there's a second phone in this photo that has a doll on it. If you look at the real photos, that's why I'm having a hard time finding this second one, or this weird second phone image, is because it's not there. So somewhere between the originals being posted and then the blown up ones that are being shared, now all of a sudden we have what was a leaf on top of a shadow is now looking like there's some weird looking doll or little girl. I've heard it called the little girl on a second phone in these phone photos. There's not. Because if you look at the original ones and you all can blow them up as big as you like, you will see that what was what looked like a doll at first is is just a leaf, and it continues further along the edge. I don't think you can see it in this photo. Will you grab me another one, Gritty? Because
Uh,
I think it's number 10 that you can see it in.
all right, let me see
This is
if I
stage
can
9.
exhibit number 10. Okay.
So you can, if you look at the ones with the doll on it, those of you who have had the misfortune of being upset by those photos already, if you go and look at the originals and blow it up, you'll see
Yeah, this is
that.
number 10.
And okay, where is this silly phone with the doll on it? I thought it was down on the bottom on the right. Now I'm not seeing it because let's try the next one. Because it doesn't look like a doll. Like, I mean, it's obviously not if you're looking at at the real photos. I mean, it's obviously not. But if you're looking at what got doctored and spread around today, it looks, it does look suspicious. It looks funny. But if you go back and yes, pareidolia. So if
Number
you,
11.
yeah, let's try that one. All right. Do any of you know where this silly doll would have been in this photo? Because I am not finding it now. And I know what I'm looking for.
Yeah, the timestamp and date is at the top right-hand corner of the photos digital. So, well, I don't know, for the filing. So it's like, let me pretty head. It's the filing here, if
So
that's
I
what you were
thought it was
asking.
down on the right. Now I'm not seeing it. Hold on, let me grab my from my other phone and I might be able to find it. Because I want you guys to be able to see it in order to see the real one so that everybody can take a deep breath and realize that There's nothing wacky happening with these photos. Well, shouldn't be anything wacky happening with these photos. Hold on. I got my I got the first concerning post I got about it pulled up, and we'll see if we can't
Is that?
find the I see, and now we're looking for it and can't find it. I don't know how this became
I
such
don't know because I wasn't looking for anything in the photos. So,
hmm yeah, well, so I started getting messages about, oh my God, there's um there's images in the background or in these photos that you just can't see. Well, yeah, there's not. So we're looking at the originals, which is why they don't look so fucked up, because the originals you can tell that it's just a leaf. So if y'all happen upon these photos and it'll be real zoomed in on a leaf and it'll be circled and they'll say, look, see, there's a second phone, and the phone has a little girl um like showing on the screen. It's a leaf. No matter how hard we look for this little girl and this other phone, we're not going to find it because it's not there. So that's just my cautionary tale of Delphi and the crazy that happens in Delphi. I do not understand why these folks meddle with photos. I don't understand their need to create confusion. I don't get it. I don't understand what they're um yeah, there's only
see
one.
through said, had there been a fire there, or is that just mud?
Prakasant, I love you. Now is not the time to try to disqualify an expert that didn't that you didn't object to pre-trial, Nick. I love that. I love you. Yeah, there's only one phone. Yeah, you're right. It's mud. Um,
Yeah, see through
it,
was asking, did
it's
they have a fire there, or is it mud? So,
yeah. I've had a few people ask me about whether it was mud or fire. I'm gonna assume that it's probably a mildew, that there's probably a lot of mildew. We do a lot of human remains searching in the winter, and that looks like the regular old Indiana mud and mildew that we get in come spring after the leaves have started to rot some. This being February, it would kind of make sense that it be that. To me, it doesn't look all on fire. The bodies didn't have any fire. They didn't have any ash. The phone didn't have ashes on it. Like there was no evidence of anything having ashes, scorched fire, none of that. So you can see it however you like, but to to me, it looks like mildew and dirt and mud. This was in the woods. Um, oh, that you don't want to narrow in on that.
what is that?
That is a pair of blue jeans.
Uh huh. Indeed, it is.
Hmm.
Okay.
So the shoe. So the phone was on the ground. The shoe was on top of the phone, and then Abby was on top of the shoe.
Hmm.
And Abby was wearing Libby's jeans.
Yes, I know.
Okay.
I'm just humming myself,
Hmm.
looking at it. Sorry.
No, that's okay.
All
That's all right.
right.
You know me. I'm just sensitive about showing the girls or any of
Yep, yep.
that.
Gotcha.
So
Okay. Let's
so
see.
yeah, that's what's up with the phone. And I find it infuriates me because I got sent photos of what looked like a doll on a phone screen. But then I had to go look at the real photos from Nick's post, like the evidence photos, not the ones I have, but the ones from the filing. And I was like, well, these aren't the same. What the hell? So somebody even photoshopped those because they're bored, I guess. I don't know what makes people do that.
It's weird.
Very weird. It is very weird. Was there clothing belonging to any or both girls found on the north side of the creek, under the bridge, etc.? There was um, under the bridge on the north side. Somewhere under the bridge, there were some things that were located, some evidentiary that you'll hear later, but then they also found some clothing that obviously had been there for a very, very, very long time. Like I want to say it was a pair of underwear, maybe, but it was not the missing underwear from these girls. These girls were missing a pair of underwear, but one sock and one pair of underwear were missing, and that's all that was missing. Um, but yeah, I think it was that north side of the bridge, but there was like the woods in Indiana, we find all kinds of shit. So finding a random pair of underwear under a bridge that is known for some trafficking and some sex work and whatnot, that's not real surprising. And there was a mention of a belt, but you know, we'll just read that from the filing and wait for more news on that front,
Yeah, that sounds like a plan on that one.
right? Because I ain't touching it with a
Yeah,
10 foot
there's
pole.
more to come on that, at
Right,
least.
right. So they're
Yes.
seeing T Rexes. That leaf on the left looks like a T Rex. You're right. You're right. It does. Some of the shadows are weird too. So I don't know. I do know. Hold on a minute. I know why those shadows all look weird. Oh, I'm so stupid. So it took them well into the dark. It was dark before they moved the girls. I bet those shadows are so drastic because it's nighttime and they're using a flash. All day I've been looking at those photos going, what is with the like somebody must have used like a sharpening tool or something. I don't think so. I think that's the flash. I think these photographs were probably taken at night, and that's why the shadows look so harsh and exaggerated because they didn't move the girls' bodies until after dark. So anyway, there's the story. So now we can go on. I just wanted to like tell the story before we got to it. Where was the green bandana? I don't remember, but so when most people talk about the crime scene, they're talking about the area where the girls were found. But in my world, the crime scene starts at the parking lot. So to say that it was found in the crime scene, yeah, but that crime scene was massive. But then the smaller crime scene where the girls were actually killed was very small. So I'm not I'm not really sure exactly where that green bandana was. Oh, you're trying to figure out what the white item between the tie-dye and the shoe. Does anybody attend court remember? I mean, I've seen those photos. I've seen them a lot of times. I can't tell what it is. Um, some form of clothing, I would assume. Could have been the bottom of a shoe, maybe. Wasn't there I know there was a Nike missing or a Nike that was in the water. I wonder if it was like maybe the sole of a shoe. I don't know. I'm not sure what that white item was.
I don't know, somewhere around my stuff I have them.
Oh,
From when
that
they got
those
shared
photos
like
of the
back in the
clothes.
day. Yeah, in the creek. I
Yeah,
can find you
those
if
got
you want.
leaked so early on that it's hard to know which ones are originals and which ones are, you know, much like this photo today. It took them hours before they started photoshopping that photo. So, um, there's also the chance that the photos might not be quite right. But that one was shared so early and so widely that I mean, it's probably right. It's probably a good photo, but I I don't remember what it is, or I couldn't figure out what it is. I don't know. I wish I could. I don't think anyone can work it out. Oh, you're probably right, sees through. Probably not, because some of those photos, and I knew what I was looking at. There were photos, like even crime scene photos. They took photos of things that I couldn't even figure out why in the hell they took that photo. Like I would just look at it and think, there all I'm seeing is leaves. Like what am I supposed to be seeing here? So I would blow them up and just stare. I spent so many days, weeks. I spent weeks going over those photos because I had to at least figure out what we're taking a photo of. But so yeah, and my memory is imperfect, just like everybody. When you try to hold so much information, your brain just can't. There are no rulers. I know that the lack of rulers I also find frustrating. It it makes it hard. Like when you look at things, like if I show you a stone on a all black background and get the camera real close, you can't tell how big that is. It could be a boulder or it could be a pea, little size of a pea. But if you put a can of Coke next to it, all of a sudden it makes sense. Well, that's why those rulers are so important. But there were mm-mm. Like, is that a phone or a tablet? That's a phone. I mean, I can tell you for sure that's a phone. I know exactly what that is. Yeah, the markers too. Mm-mm. Nope, they didn't really use many of those. They did. Mm, I'm trying to think of whether they used any. They may have at some point, but if they did, it wasn't very many. Same with the rulers. Like there might be oddball pictures in there with rulers, but for the most part, out in the field, nah, they didn't. It was it was different than what I've seen in other trials. I That might be their way of doing things. I don't know. Ah, there's the photo. So the middle white thing, Oh yeah, what the fuck is that? Well, I mean, you can tell where it's where things that go down the creek get hung up. So it to me looks like a plastic bag. I mean, that's what my untrained eye, my wild guess, thinks that looks. I don't know. I'm impressed that searchers noticed those clothes. I've done a lot of searches with a lot of people from very different backgrounds, and I getting people to recognize what's important and what's not is really, really hard. And I'm impressed by the folks that found these clothes because so many people would just look over and go and think that that's regular creek trash. But they didn't, they found it, they noticed it right away.
Boats.
Oh, I don't know. What do you think? What do you think it is, Gertie? You got any ideas?
Uh, I don't. I don't know. Dude.
Me neither, man. I think we'll be in our 50s still trying to figure this shit out.
I don't know. I just know that I saw these back when they were on Gavin Fish's YouTube channel.
Nothing in that creek would have been really dirty, Jenny, because that water was moving pretty damn fast. So the bottom of her shoe not being dirty, that's about like what I would expect it to. Because about the time you throw anything in the water, that water is gonna um, make it clean. I do wonder though where, like, you can tell by looking at that photo that that stuff got hung up there. So where was it when it actually got put in the water? I've always wondered because I don't know. Like, how far upstream was it? Was it far? Was
Well,
it close?
hold on. I guess maybe this might give you an idea. This photo, hold on, because I've got.
I'm talking about the shoe that's in the water, Jenny. The black Nike that was in the water. The whole shoe was wet.
So it would have been like
Look at you. You are so quick with stuff. Like, you have
it's
everything in file.
it's because I have my stuff open from like all of the different photos that I've collected um throughout this ordeal.
I can't wait
So
until the time comes that I can share photos.
do you see that? The
Mm, yeah, I see the
yeah,
picture. What am I supposed to
the
be
picture.
seeing?
I don't know. I just different photos that have been collected.
Wait a minute.
I've
Hey,
collected these over a long
hey,
period
where
of
did
time,
that?
but
How is this out in the world? Where? Who took
I don't
this?
know. I picked this up along my travels, honey. Throughout this case, throughout YouTube, I've picked up a lot of stuff.
Did they allow reporters out at that scene at all in the first day or two?
I'm pretty sure they did. Yeah, like
I mean, because that one, that was really close to where those girls were at.
mm-hmm.
It's daylight though, and so this must have been the following morning,
Yep.
like the 15th, morning of the 15th,
Yeah.
because they would have never allowed them out there on the 14th. There's no way.
Well, like I
Unless,
said, I've
unless
collected
an
this.
officer, unless somebody,
I,
an officer, one of the divers, but I don't think so.
yeah, I don't know. I
So this
just,
is from the bridge, huh?
yeah, this is just stuff that I've collected along the way, like photos or whatever. Um, I
Man, I wish I
mean,
had seen the trail when it still looked like that, when
uh,
it was still just the gravel path. I was so mad that it was destroyed by the time trial came.
yeah, just a bunch of difference. I mean, that's,
Interesting.
mm-hmm.
I wonder why the news would focus on that. That's an interesting thumbnail.
Isn't it though?
It is. There.
What?
That's not fair anymore, this bench.
Yeah, I know it's not. I thought it
Where
was
is that?
important.
Is that where the angels are at? Is that Mears Gate off to the left? And then the bridge further on in front of you?
No, it's not near the angels. Yeah.
Yeah, we had a hard time trying to, um, some of the landmarks. Hey, what's that? Hold on.
What? Which
What's that
what?
building? That.
It was posted in social media. Just to clear things up for good, the cabin was not involved in any way, shape, or form. I am the owner, and you can move on now. Posted by a Monty Edgy.
Oh, Monty.
So just something that I picked up, like I said, you know,
Huh. That is interesting.
just stuff that caught my eye. So I picked it up, you know.
We heard so much about there was a cabin that, and we've heard all kinds of things that happened in whatever cabin this was, aside from the murder. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? Like they were cooking meth in it. The teenagers used to go there and drink on Fridays. Like there's a lot of different stories that surrounded this alleged shack, which we could not really substantiate any of them, but it made for good ghost stories.
Mhm.
It's a pretty community. It's sad that scissors, man, I want scissors. It was so hard
Okay.
to like not bring out the clippers during trial with the bad beards, mustaches, and hairdos. I was tempted to like stick a pair of clippers in my purse and like offer touch ups during break because
Right. But yeah, I don't know.
interesting. Your photo collection is beautiful.
Thank you. Thank you.
I
I
mean,
just tried to grab a whole lot of stuff.
hmm
So,
I remember the whole Ansus and Fehu when that first all started coming out. I had to sit back and watch that and bite my tongue. It was so hard. That was the first time that the gag order really drove me nuts
oh,
because
these were
people were
interesting.
people were just annihilating each other over. Oh, that's the Roblox, right?
Mm, no, no, this was something that somebody had, like, when they were talking about the crime scene photos. This was, I don't remember who put this out as like a you know what I mean? Like they wanted to
Hmm.
whatever, but
To
yeah.
keep the photos. People are curious, and I get it, but
But I
man,
just like I felt these were interesting photos.
they are. They're beautiful. They show the beauty of that area. Like that trail was put there because it's so beautiful.
Hmm. And some of these may be repeats or whatever, but I just felt that they were important. They've been out there for a really long time. So
Hmm.
yeah.
Yeah, and there's some that I haven't seen. I haven't seen some of those.
You haven't?
Mm-mm. No,
Yeah.
I have seen some that you would never want to see, and you have seen some of the beauty that I haven't seen.
Yeah.
Once this is all over, I want to go back out there and go there just to enjoy it because it really is beautiful.
Hmm.
Yeah, I cannot figure out what the hell that white thing is either. And
I
I
don't
have a
know.
list. I have a list somewhere of exactly what was found right there. I will do my due diligence and go look for that list and see if I can't figure it out. It does kind of look like a pair of underwear.
It does. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, I've got some photos. I've got more stuff, but yeah, I've just collected a lot along the way, as you
There-
can see.
There's time for that. Maybe we should make a video. Maybe we should start a movement. Maybe we should put all of the beautiful things in Delphi. Maybe we should do like photo collages of the beautifulness that is in Delphi. Because
You
there
know,
is a lot of beauty there. I mean, it's not all gore and trauma.
no, it's not. But I look at all of the different things that I have for this case. I wish I would just start a video for all of the things that I have. Like
Hmm.
it would be never ending. It would be never
Yeah.
ending.
Right. Oh my God. It, there was one of my favorite informants throughout the years. She was like, "Yeah, I have stuff for you, but I don't know what you want." So we ended up like I had to go there and go through because there was just so much it was shocking.
Yeah.
Like I was floored. It was personal conversations and other people's conversations and photos and video, and it was really, really eye-opening for me because it has been
Mhm.
a long time since I have been able to meet someone that collects data like me and Erica collect data, right? So she was
Yes.
the first one that I bumped into, and it was uh, the amount of data there was just insane on top of the data that I already had. And then I
Mhm.
met you. And then it was like, holy shit. Once you opened some of your data to me, I was like, oh my God, I am never going to catch up. These people are all going to stay way ahead of me. So that little bit of competition there and feeling like I needed to catch up with everybody else, that kind of kept me going. Like it,
Well,
that
when I
kind of
created
that.
yeah, when I created the tabs, a lot of it was, like I said, I would be watching some other stuff going on, like, other subject matter creators. Somebody would mention something and it would get, you know, the thinking juices flowing. So
Mhm.
the way I describe it is it's almost like being inside of my brain because I just like if something crossed my thought pattern, I went to go look for it. I would make a tab for it and then I would just start digging for more information. Sometimes I would start digging for information on people, just
Mhm.
all kinds of stuff. And I don't know. I mean, I think it's shown to be pretty fruitful so far.
Oh my God, it was so helpful. I cannot. I like I know I say it all the time, but like I cannot thank the it was mostly YouTubers, which is odd because we usually find most of our support on Facebook. But in
Yeah.
this case, man, it was a younger generation of folks that were looking. You know, Facebook's kind of older than the crowd that uses YouTube,
Mhm.
but the amount of people that were able to help us out was just, it was astounding. People were contacting us and saying, "Hey, I've got this. Hey, I've got that." Once they figured out who we were, you know, because we spent a year and a half in silence, just keeping our nose down and investigating how we could. But once we popped our heads up and let people know we were there, oh, oh, the support we had. And it was my job, but you all did it just because it was the right thing to do,
Yeah.
and that's part of the beauty of the situation that kind of is easy to overlook, right? You know,
Yeah.
we because it's dark stuff we always are talking about and working on, and there's all the fighting and whatnot, but really on the bright side, if we had to find a silver lining, it's the people.
Yeah, I mean, I think you gotta take the good with the bad, you know what I mean? And just I always have to remind myself, like, what's wrong is not always right. What's right is not always popular.
Correct. Very much so. I've I have learned through this whole experience to like take a breath
Mhm.
and be patient before I
Yes.
just lose my shit,
Right?
because it doesn't seem to do me any good when I lose my shit anyway. So it's kind
Nah,
of
it just creates a bigger problem.
right,
So,
exactly.
oh my goodness. There are a lot more documents to go through too. I don't know if we'll make it all through tonight.
All right,
Um,
let's hit one. Let's try one more before we call it a night.
okay. So let's
I'm
see.
gonna give you some headache medicine while you read. Oh, did
Okay.
you ever get to eat your ice cream? I
Yep.
had you read after you got a bowl of ice cream because I'm a douche. I'm
It's
sorry.
okay. No, no worries. I had ice cream and Aurora helped me with some and Dexter helped me with a little bit of it too. So they're
That's great,
happy.
right?
They
Good.
are happy.
All right. Then I'll let you read and I'll take medicine.
Okay. Let me find the next exhibit to share. I mean, I don't mind reading them all. There's a lot of them.
All right.
That's all. So,
I'm Migraine City. I got nothing else planned. Just laying in
alrighty
the dark.
then.
That's what I've been doing today is laying in the dark.
Right? Okay, so this one is in order of judgment of the courts. The court, having had this matter under advisement following a hearing and having considered the evidence and argument of counsel, now finds as follows. Number one, the defendant is currently incarcerated in Westville Correctional Facility under a safekeeping order issued November 3rd, 2022. Number two, the court order states that the court finds the defendant is an inmate awaiting trial and is in imminent danger of serious bodily injury or death, represents a substantial threat to the safety of others. Number three, the evidence presented at the hearing of the defendant's motion to reconsider did not support any of the allegations advanced by the defendant's counsel. In fact, the evidence presented demonstrates that the defendant is treated more favorably than other inmates housed at Westville Correctional Facility. In light of the evidence presented, the court has reconsidered the original safety order and finds it reasonable and necessary to ensure the defendant's safety and to prevent serious bodily injury to himself. The Department of Corrections has provided and will continue to provide the defendant with the necessary medical services, including any mental health services. If the Department of Corrections believes a facility other than Westville is more appropriate or convenient for counsel, the court is confident that the Department of Corrections will move the defendant accordingly.
We're having we're having some choppy audio, love. I know you were
Uh,
said you were having connection issues earlier.
yeah,
It's
it's
been good
got
until just now.
bad weather here. So,
Okay. That's all right. Keep going. We'll make the best of it.
all right. So let me pull up
Ooh,
next.
it fixed it. It's better. It was
Okay,
temporary.
awesome sauce. So then we have an affidavit by Tobe. Looks like Tobe Lesenby. The affiant Tobe Lesenby under oath under the penalties of perjury states that number one, that I am currently employed in the Carroll County Sheriff's Department. Number two, that in October of 2022, that I was the Carroll County Sheriff. Number three, that the defendant was arrested on October 26, 2022 and held in the Carroll County Jail until the initial hearing on October 28, 2022, at which time he was transported to the Carroll County Circuit Court for said hearing. Number four, that afterwards the defendant was moved to the White County Jail due to overcrowding, not pursuant to a safety order. Number five, that on November 2nd, 2022, I filed a request by the Sheriff of Carroll County, Indiana, to transfer inmate from the custody of the Sheriff to the custody of the Indiana Department of Corrections for keeping in compliance with IC 35-33-11-1. That in my motion, I cite that the reason for safekeeping is due to the safety and security of the defendant and to protect the jail staff and other officers handling the defendant due to the extensive coverage of the case by an array of various media platforms. That the court had at no given time gave me legal advice on the motion pertaining to safekeeping, that there was no attorney listed as attorney of record for the defendant when I filed my motion. Number nine, that it is my belief that the motion for safekeeping was in the best interest of the defendant, and everyone involved to protect the defendant and everyone else involved in the case, dated January 28th, 2025.
Oh yeah, sure. They were looking out for his best interest.
Hmm.
Mhm.
Sure,
Mhm.
of course.
Yeah.
Okay, so screen. Alrighty then. Shane Allen Fiscal Discovery Release. The following is a list of items in this physical discovery release. One Seagate 3.5-inch terabyte SATA hard drive, SNZK30G9G, labeled as 02B2 Allen, containing Allen jails calls, make phone calls made by Allen at the White County or at the Carroll County Jail, White County Jail, Westville Department of Corrections. All Westville phone calls to 12/1/23. Inmate text or email data related to Allen and GTL account payment information provided by Westville and GTL. Evidence Blair Fitbit, geofences, neighborhood canvas 2017, neighborhood canvas 2019. Filing cabinet scans and electronic digital copies of filing cabinet paper documents and any DNA in those files. Those files were uploaded and current to this date. Any additional scans will be provided by e-discovery. There's a Holder 2016 ceremony actual video from the Facebook feed of the Odinist ceremony. Interviews 3/14/17 Sandra Harris and phone extraction by FBI in San Diego, California. This file was too large for successful upload to e-discovery. Okay. Photographs, crime scene, autopsy, and other follow-up photographs. Some photograph files are too large for a successful e-discovery upload. Some of the photos may be contained in e-discovery release. 3D rendering, Commander Steve Police photo of crime scene, autopsy, and other investigative follow-up. German crime scene photos, ISP note photos, 12/7/22, state police photo of crime scene, other investigative follow-up by CSI technician name and description. Items 101422 slim phone, photos of Allen's water bottle in the interview room submitted for evidence. FBI trail camera photograph taken at the crime scene. J. Kramer photos, FBI crime scene photographs taken by S.A. Julia Kramer.
Oh, hold on. Notice that they mentioned a water bottle from Rick during his interview.
Yes, ma'am.
So I think we've all watched enough TV to realize that, they use those to collect DNA and fingerprints, right? They give you a
Yep.
brand new fresh bottle out of the fridge, make sure it doesn't have any fingerprints on it, hand it to somebody they're questioning, and all of a sudden they've got your DNA and your fingerprints, right?
Mm.
If you make sure that the trash can's empty when if somebody throws it in the garbage when they're done with it, you just go get it out and off to the lab it goes. Do you recall hearing any of the experts testify about Rick's DNA being on anyone or anything at the scene? I do not. Do you?
Not that I heard. I didn't hear anything about his DNA.
Yeah.
So,
There was nothing of Rick's found. Just pointing out the obvious.
Yes. So we have
basically.
police and coroner reports, Carroll County Sheriff, State Police, TIP, DIN. Some of the reports contained in the file are also uploaded to eDiscovery. Following the eDiscovery release, we discovered that some of the files in the Indiana State Police may be incomplete or not populated in eDiscovery. Therefore, all the files in Indiana State Police were copied to this drive. FBI reports are attached on a separate hard drive listed below in Discovery Export. FBI Crisis Management Reporting Software Orion is listed below on a separate hard drive. My goodness. Latest download of Orion 12.7.23. Additional information contained in Orion will be uploaded to Discovery's Orion threads are made available. Search warrants. All search warrants and court-related documents and files were discharged for successful eDiscovery upload. Some of the files may be contained in recent eDiscovery releases. A thumb drive from Todd Click. Files
Note the
from the
date.
thumb drive. Huh?
Note the date of that thumb drive from Todd Click.
August 30th, 2023.
Mm-hmm. Just saying.
Right. Westville Prison cell block video, body cam footage, jury contact with Allen, war sheets, other Westville IDOC reports and documents. Any problems encountered in any of Westville associated videos, please contact Thomas Wellington, Westville IDOC tech support. One Western digital 2.5-inch terabyte SATA hard drive. One digital brief 1.5-inch 1 terabyte SATA hard drive. This one's labeled full camera at Mirrors Farm. Well, both of them
Okay,
are.
so here's the thing that they were talking about it on Teresa's live. So you're about to read about poll cameras and trail cameras at the crime scene. So they put up cameras. That's why I said look at the dates, right? They put up poll cameras at the Mears farm, um, and at the trail entry. They put those up after the homicides so that they could see who was coming and going. And then they put trail cameras inside the crime scene, the smaller crime scene, to see who was making their way all the way down there and what they were doing while they were there. So there was trail cam. There was at least one. I don't remember how many, but there was at least one inside the crime scene, and it was meant to catch visitors to the crime scene. And
Yeah.
it did, by the way. So if you visited the crime scene, they know. Just saying. Because there may have been some YouTubers on there. They may not have been, but there might have been. I'm just saying. But there were cameras inside that crime scene that caught the comings and goings of folks to the crime scene.
Right. So we have what Western Digital 3.5-inch 500 gigabyte SATA hard drive, labeled as compilation of data contained on 8/10. The files on this hard drive contain 2/26/2017 Delphi flip phone found under the bridge.
Correct.
3/11/2017 Delphi Liberty Germans found phone, Clinton County Axiom Cellbrite.
So that's a whole big old mouthful to say her data. her Celebrite extraction.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, wait. The first one is her actual phone. The next one,
Is a tablet. It's,
this
yeah.
Celebrite white chip off report, that's cell phone data
Yeah.
stuff. And then yeah, there's a tablet.
Okay. So yeah. So Alec B Boots, Amazon tablet, the big case, Samsung 10 Galaxy tablet, screenshot, older Samsung phone. It looks like, I guess.
So it's holder screenshots,
Right, and then it was
and then it just says
phone. So
holder.
that's a Samsung. That's a phone right there.
Right. But so it's holder screenshots, comma,
Right.
holder, comma. So I cracked a joke earlier that they put holder in a shrinky dink machine and shoved him in a thumb drive because
Uh,
they sent holder what? Holder photos, holder interviews, holder DNA. It just says holder anyway. And then it says this Samsung SGH 337 Jackson.
right.
Then somebody named Jackson, somebody named Stewartson, somebody named
Right.
Co-Chair.
The
It's
iPod exam. Then you have J Maxwell, L Maxwell, McKinney, Pearson. It looks like a SIM card on February 14th, 2017. Voorhees, Wallace, Wilbur, Wright, Young, Delphi murders,
we've never heard of any of
TP,
those people before. mm,
Pearson.
mm, mm, mm-hmm. Griffey, I don't know what or who that is. That is a weird spelling.
Okay.
Griffeye. I don't know
What
who
is
or
he?
who. I don't know if it's a person, if it's a thing. I don't know what that is.
Where is that?
Um, Griffeye.
Is it on the? Oh, you're talking on the paper.
Yeah. So it's.
Mhm.
Can you put a cursor on the screen and I'll guide you with it? Okay, so to the left, obviously. Oh, no. So where are you? Okay, to the right, right there. Oh, down a row.
Give. Oh, Griffey. Yep.
I don't know who or
ISG
what that is.
firm. I wonder if it's the name of maybe an officer. The ISP officer in Peru.
Could be. Could be. Because they did have officers from Peru helping out. Um,
Mm-hmm.
could be.
And it looks like this one is the Kunskek warrant.
I
Megan.
I know
Interesting.
nothing. To be blatantly honest, I know nothing about that warrant. I have no clue. That's a new
Well,
name today.
here it's talking about this Kunskek warrant folder goes with the case for Keegan Klein because there was CSAM on it.
Oh, okay, there you go.
It says that there was child sexually explicit material in the warrant folder.
There you go. Then
It
that's
says
why.
these are connected to Keegan Klein's device extractions in relation to his Miami County child exploitation case.
Okay. Then that's why I didn't. That's why it's a name I didn't know because I didn't know that name at all.
right? It says the fine extractions contained on the device were withheld because they contain CSIM. The 8110 original hard drive is available for full inspection under supervision at our office upon request.
Yeah, that's normal.
Um,
Unless it's an actual CSAM case, then the defense lawyers would get it, but they're they are very Indiana law is very, very strict when it comes to um, children and people who have been sexually violated.
right. So this one says it's one Seagate 3.5-inch 2 terabyte SATA hard drive labeled as 8111 containing security camera footage and photos of the Hoosier Harvester footage and footage from residence 5998 West 52 North and Keynes photos from the trail.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, me about um, taking photos that day.
And then they'll put extractions from all of these, I guess. That's what they say.
But they didn't take Brad Holder's, huh? Funny that.
Apparently not. So they
Wasn't
got
it
one
Brad
from
Holder's that
Baker.
they didn't get? They didn't get somebody's. I don't. Yeah, I think it's Brad Holder, wasn't
Yeah, they didn't get. They didn't get a lot. Like the families, they didn't get. I mean, even though he's claiming they did, but if they did, they should have admitted to it in court, not we didn't do it, and then, like we didn't run it, and then now here it is, all of this. Um, this one's another one 3.5-inch 500 gigabyte SATA hard drive, cell phone extractions for an unknown,
it?
and
Mm-hmm.
then DeMoss, Dylan, Miles, Derek German, Humphrey, Sandifer, Snowberger, and Weber.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. It's another hard drive.
There are so many
Right
hard drives.
extraction. There's another Samsung Logan holder, Jackson's iPhone examination of the MAB, James Maxwell, McKinney, Pearson, Voorhees, Wallace, Wilbur, Williams, Wright, Hmm. Huh. Interesting. Alrighty. So we have another hard drive, phone extractions, Buller, Dunham, Gunther, Heater, Isom, Jester, Myers, Sabella, three unknown dial. How do you have three extractions from devices if you don't know who the devices are?
If they don't know whose the devices are,
No, it says three unknown devices. These are talking about extractions,
mm-hmm.
2017 phone extractions.
Mm-hmm.
So you have Buller, Dunham, Gunther, Heater, Isom, Jester, Myers,
Mm-hmm.
Sabella, and three unknown devices.
Mm-hmm.
How can you do an extraction and not know what the device is?
I think it's I It says unknown devices, but I suspect it's unknown owners, unknown users. So what they mean is Myers, Bella, and three unknown devices.
Mm-hmm.
So like I think it just might be a poorly written sentence. That's what I
It
would
looks
assume
like.
because there were some found phones.
Okay. So another hard drive with security camera video, collected businesses, residences. It's another hard drive containing security video, hardware store, library, Mitchell Mexican Grill, Pizza King, Save-A-Lot, Shell, Sunoco Transportation, or Transfer Station, True Value, and Walmart. Another hard drive containing uncatalogued interviews from Delphi Police Department interviews 2/20/22 to 3/24/22 and 8/17/2017 due to a program error discovered 8/20/2017. All recordings up to February 20/2017. Report over. There is no detectable audio found on the drive. Oh boy. Another hard drive labeled Delphi DVR drive containing uncatalogued interviews from Franklin Street Investigation Center. There is no detectable audio on the original drive from which this duplicate was made. Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Weird. Another hard drive. Delphi DVR Drive 2 export containing uncatalogued interviews from Franklin Street Investigation Center from 2/28/17 to 6/30/17.
Uncatalogued.
Yes.
It's 2025.
Well, let me highlight it. That's not allowed to highlight the word uncatalogued.
Oh, you're allowed to highlight. You highlight any goddamn thing you want to.
No,
Oh, it started flipping when you did.
it won't let me do it on the document.
Oh, got ya.
It's
Yeah. Interesting that they're uncatalogued. I find
more uncatalogued interviews.
yeah. Hmm. Makes you wonder why it took us a while to notice that we were missing a shit ton of them when our discovery looked like confetti.
Right. And it looks like some files were provided by the FBI on October 31st, 2023. They contained discovery export, all FBI Sentinel files, and FBI document 302s. This file was the product of the zip file listed above. Boy. Digital imaging and video recovery team files associated with this case include brick and mortar Carroll County Jail, City Hall, Courthouse, DVR, crime scene cameras, forensics, CPS, Danny's Auto Shop, Delphi 411-14-15 Dollar General, Delphi Dollar General for a drone video.
Oh, sorry. So the Dollar General Flora
Is all
So some
this.
of these, this whole list of stuff, a lot of it is alibis. A lot of it is people saying, "I was here, I was there," you know, that kind of thing. Some of it's not, but a chunk of it is.
All right.
The drone video, I would also like to see that, by the way.
I
But
would
I'm gonna have to
also.
wait like everybody else, I think, until we're done because it. I never had that.
Got a lot of closure to get.
Hmm.
All right. So another hard drive. This one contains the latest copy of Orion, the threads that are available. Sarah Luxembourg.
Sarah is an absolute doll. She works for Rosie, and she is just both of the Sarahs. Baldwin has one, and Rosie has one, and they are just both wonderful human beings.
Mm. This looks to be a formal presentation of Miss Eldridge's experience background. It looks like so pretty much her resume. Master of Science in Computer and Information Systems, Bellevue, Bellevue University, Bachelor's of Science, Information Systems, adjunct
Adjunct
professor.
professor. Hmm.
Yep.
That means part timer.
Mm-hmm. Founder, digital forensics and cybersecurity expert, director of cybersecurity, cyber investigator, program manager, data loss prevention. Mm-hmm. Well, she's got a good resume, didn't she?
Oh, she's impressive as shit.
Ooh, certifications and awards. Yeah.
Hmm. She
So
is
she's
impressive.
very impressive.
Poor Cecil.
I don't understand why Nick was trying to minimize her the way
I,
then.
dude, I do not know. I, you know, you got to do what you got to do, though. That's lawyers doing lawyering, and I'll never fault him for that. Like
Mm-hmm.
he's just doing his job and attacking credentials of witnesses is, you know, he. I will use his same um argument, though. He should have done that on the stand.
Yeah,
If he didn't like her credentials, he should have argued that on the stand while she was on the stand.
I agree. Mm. Make sure I open it. This is another safe. This is a safekeeping order thing. Getting down to it. There's a couple of things that are here are posted repeats, but that's okay. It's better to have a repeat than to not have it at all.
Right?
So the court, having had this matter under advisement, following a hearing and having considered the evidence and the arguments of counsel, now finds as follows. The defendant is currently incarcerated in the Westville Correctional Facility under a safekeeping order issued November 3rd, 2022. The court states that the court finds the defendant is an inmate awaiting trial and is in imminent danger of serious bodily injury or death, or represents a substantial threat to the safety of others. The evidence presented at the hearing on defendant's motion to reconsider did not support many of the allegations advanced by the defense counsel. In fact, the evidence presented demonstrated that the defendant is treated more favorably than other inmates housed at Westville Correctional Facility. In light of the evidence presented, the court has reconsidered the original safety order and finds it is reasonable and necessary to ensure the defendant's safety to prevent serious bodily injury to himself. The Department of Corrections has provided and will continue to provide the defendant with the necessarily medical services, including any mental health services, if the Department of Corrections needs a facility other than Westville is more appropriate and more convenient for counsel. The court is confident that the Department of Corrections will move the defendant accordingly. Okie dokie. Another repeat. Okay, so then we have the order on the initial hearing here. Security. Invite me. All right, so order on the initial hearing. It was entered on October 28th, 2022. State of Indiana, approved by Nicholas C. McLeland, attorney, defendant, in the custody of the sheriff of Oakville County, Indiana. The defendant is advised of his rights to counsel and his constitutional and statutory rights, the charges against him, and the possible penalties. Defendant advises the court that he intends to hire private counsel. The defendant is advised that he must retain counsel with 20 days, as there are deadlines associated with the omnibus hearing, which may be waived if not merely pled. Pleas of not guilty are entered. Omnibus hearing is set for January 13, 2022 at 9 a.m. and trial by jury is set the first setting of March 20th, 2023 at 9 a.m. The defendant is ordered and directed to appear on said dates. Failure to appear may result in the issuance of bench warrants. Pre-omnibus hearing is issued. State of Indiana requests the defendant be held without bond. The court now orders the defendant held without bond pending a further hearing. So this is ordered the 28th of October 2022. Pre-omnibus hearing. The case is set for trial by jury on March 20th, 2023 at 9 a.m. At a first setting, the omnibus date is 2013-2023. The trial conference is set for January 13, 2023 at 9 a.m., at which time the defendant and counsel for the parties are ordered to direct to appear. Discovery shall be as provided by local criminal code LROA-CR00-18 on or before the 15-day period or before the 15-day prior to the trial date. Oh my goodness. Pre-omnibus hearings of attorneys. Trial counsel for defense and state shall meet prior to the omnibus hearing in the absence of agreement as to the time and place of meeting. Shall meet at a place assigned by the state of Indiana and shall undertake and consider the following. A. They shall complete an omnibus report, which shall then be filed with the court prior to the omnibus hearing. They shall exchange lists of the names and addresses of witnesses and exhibits. We shall discuss implications of the issue, motions then pending, or which may be filed before the commencement of trial, stipulations, therefore prosecution and defense, and plea negotiations, if any. Number 3, omnibus hearing. All cases scheduled for trial on the date set in this matter will be scheduled for omnibus hearing at the same time. The court will first determine if the parties entering the plea agreement by the defendant, either with or without a plea agreement. If there is to be a plea agreement, the plea will be entered following any other scheduled omnibus hearing. The court will not accept a plea agreement after the omnibus hearing without a showing of good cause why the plea agreement could not have been reached at a prior to omnibus hearing. No plea guilty is entered. The court will determine whether any case with an earlier filing date or case which the court has assigned a higher priority remains scheduled for the same plea or for the same trial date. If there are none, then the trial will stand. Otherwise, trial date will be set. 4, witnesses and exhibits. Lots of witnesses and exhibits in writing shall be prepared, exchanged, and filed with the court at an omnibus hearing. Number 5, jury instruction. Preliminary and final instruction shall be tendered to the court and exchanged by the parties no later than 3 days prior to the court. The court will remain the tender of additional instructions during trial on matters which could not reasonably have been anticipated in advance of trial. The court shall not refer to or read any proposed instructions to the jury in voir dire, examination, opening statements, or otherwise, unless such instruction has been previously submitted to and approved by the judge. So entered this day, October 28th, 2022. I'm going to get a drink real quick.
Okay. I'll play with the guys in the chat.
All right.
Listen, that hair. Oh my God. Is it flammable? I don't know. Do you guys, are you, any of you old enough to remember Brill Cream? Like there used to be this lotion that guys would put in their hair if they wore like a flat top. Um, now we use gel, but back in the day, the guys used to use this like oil kinda, and it was called Bro Cream. When you'd sit on the furniture, it would leave a grease mark at the top of the chair behind you or all the pillows. Okay, Jenny says yes. It reminds me of that Bro Creamed hair. This is me being ridiculously petty, so y'all give me a little free rein on this one. But it just reminded me of that like, slick, sleek, oily, you know. Yeah, grease high fires are hard to put out. I'm being petty. I'm being petty. I know it's petty. I know I shouldn't do it, but I just can't help it. That hair, it was so tempting to like want to just pull him into the bathroom and be like, look, dude, can we just skip the hair gel? Just skip the hair gel. Just a blow dryer is good enough. But yeah, that hair. That hair. It's something else, that's for sure. I love a petty Betty too. Sorry. See, you go get a drink and I misbehave. I am just I'm just naughty. I can't help it.
No, you're good. You're good. I'm actually getting kind of tired, like, to be
Me
honest.
me too. We can wrap it up for today if you want, and we can.
Yeah, we could wrap it up and we can come back again whenever you want.
Okay.
It doesn't matter. Tomorrow, next day, whenever.
Okay,
Um,
we can do that.
and just keep
I'm
going.
glad. I'm just glad. Like I felt the need to come out today, especially since I asked you to take that last one down because I didn't behave myself very well. So I wanted to
It's
apologize to
okay.
everybody for that because I know that sucks when content just proofs. I don't like it when other people do it either, but self preservation one.
Yeah,
Um, so there's that. But then I also wanted to get ahead of the the these photographs being doctored and manipulated, and they're gonna spread like wildfire. Because
yes.
I already got some of them today, and they're like, "Look at this! There's a girl on the screen of this second phone."
Mm,
Y'all, I've told you before that Delphi's got people running around doctoring images. Why? I don't know, but it is what it is. So I'm glad that we had the chance to kind of get out in front of it a little bit. And normally I don't really care. Like people can think what they want about some photos, but it causes so much heartbreak and frustration and, you know, upset and fighting, and there'll be battles about whether there's really a second phone and all of that. Like the situation in Delphi really is bad enough without having to make it worse. And so it's nice to be able to kind of, you know, put that to bed before it becomes a huge thing. So
definitely.
thank you for having me. Oh,
Yes.
and I got to complain about that guy. If you see a guy running around talking about the feds are going to arrest me, please don't take that any of that seriously. Don't worry for me on my behalf. That none of that is grounded in reality. So I would not argue with that person either because they deserve our compassion. But I'm not worried. The feds are not going to come get me because I saw what I saw. That's just
We
you know
The way that I look at it is that you can't let somebody else try to tell everybody what's going to happen to you or dictate what's going to happen.
correct.
Just everybody worry about themselves. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
And try to be kind to each other, even if the next person is being a jerk face. And if you're being a jerk face, just please stop being a jerk face. There's no need
Hmm.
for it. Grow up. Let's act like adults. We're all here for the same thing. The same thing. So
Agree.
it just makes it so much easier when everybody can just set the pettiness aside and work together
Yeah, and I can only
versus
take it for so long.
yeah.
At some point, enough's enough, and you know,
Well, there comes a time when you have to say something because people just take it to this like large extreme that's it doesn't even need to go. You know,
hmm
it's like a 3-year old tantrum. You know, throwing themselves on the ground and beating their head against the sidewalk. It doesn't work out for them. It just leaves
right.
them with a splitting headache. Yeah, so
Yeah,
leaves
yeah,
everybody with a splitting headache, and it's stupid.
yeah.
So.
It was. You know, some people you just can't have a conversation with. You know what I mean? You just can't.
Yep.
Anyway, so I will catch you the next time.
Yes, catch you the next time. Thank you guys. Have a great night. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and we will catch you guys again in a couple nights.
Oh, and find me on YouTube too. So my YouTube is actually Silenced Woman, and it's got the same red, the that meme about the state is the python. That one. Find me, cuz you never know when I'm going to start going live on my own.
Okay.
All
Um,
right.
I'm going to find your channel and I will post it in the board for folks to access so that everybody can subscribe there too. And we'll just keep going as we go.
And y'all hit Gritty's Cash App, man. You know, she does this a lot. She works really hard. She's working behind the scenes a lot, and she'll never say that, but y'all send her a coffee or something. Good night, y'all.
Thank you. Good night.